everybody? Welcome back to another day, another episode of The Daily Grind. I'm your host, 30NSG, and on today's show, we're going to talk about Arc Raiders. We have Arc Raiders designer says marathon reception was a great A/B test, and they made a decision what we didn't, and vice versa, and we can compare the contrast and how some of those things shook out, which is talking about them and marathon. So we'll talk about that. We're going to go over Arc Raiders seen as a 10-year game by Embark, explained why there's no roadmap. We're going to watch a video from the Arc Raiders developers through another content creator called Dry Bear Gamers, which is about 11 hours ago. He talks about the Twitch panel and goes into stuff, so we'll watch that as well. We also have Arc Raiders just became Steam's most popular extraction shooter, and it's not even close. We're going to talk about Battlefield 6 Season 1 update. This is going to come from Who's Immortal, another YouTube channel. They don't need my help to tell you who they are. They got 994,000 subscribers, but we're going to watch and react to the Season 1 content. There's 2 game modes happening, free-to-play game modes that are coming out for Battlefield 6. There's a Battle Royale, and then there's like a team-based, I think it's called like the Gauntlet or whatever it is, and the people with the less scores at the end of it get eliminated and whatnot. So there will be 2 free-to-play game modes, Battlefield 6. And the question today in the chat, if you guys haven't seen it up above, is are you going to give it a shot? Are you going to give the free-to-play Battlefield 6 free content a shot? There's 2 different game modes. Let us know with the poll above the chat. Other than that, I think that's everything that we're going to do. Real quick, Crowded House asked me, IGN's weird preview / hit piece of Arc Raiders is getting more traction now than it was when it was closer to release. I'm curious if Mike saw it. It's fucking awful. Yeah, we watched it. And if you remember, if you can look it up, like, I'm not going to look it up on, well, maybe, you know what? I'll look it up on stream. Let me see. IGN. Let's go to IGN, right? Let me look it up on stream. Okay, because IGN, we covered it. I remember watching it on stream like 4 or 5 months ago. I just don't know the actual when they covered it. It's a long time ago. It was a video. Wasn't it back in like June? I want to say it was in June. It's going to be really hard for me to find this thing because they have so many videos that come out. Yeah, they have like 5 days, 6 days. If someone can find the video and look up what date it was, I can go back to my live streams. We watched it live, and we could talk about it if you want. But I need that date. It's just really hard for me to find it scrolling through all their stuff. What's going on, Travis? Good morning, Eclipse. What's going on, Jason? Big Mad Mo, what's going on? Heroic, good morning. Who am I missing here? Crowded House, good morning. Sarge, good morning. Who else am I missing? Wonder Rose, good morning. Brainchild, what's going on, man? Hope you're doing good. Brainchild says, I think roadmaps are just false advertising to entice you to buy. Yeah. Why buy a $70, $80 game if you don't know what they're going to do in the future, right? Yeah, it's 100%. What's going on, Salty? I looked like I was also playing a 15-year-old gaming PC. I watched Summit react to that video you're talking about, House. Okay? And he made some excellent points. See, I didn't play the game when we watched it originally, so I just watched it from a generalistic standpoint, okay? And I thought it was awful. It was a hit piece. We knew it was a hit piece from the start. But when I watched Summit talk about it, and I played the game now. I played the game to level 10. I had 15, 17 hours in the game. Okay. He pointed out the dude had clips of the tutorial in his video. He had no shields on the entire time. He was like doing things that you wouldn't normally do in the game. It looked awful. Like, I don't know what he used to play it, but the graphics look horrible. My Xbox Series X looked 10 times better, 100 times better than what that footage showed. It was absolutely terrible coverage. Okay? I was laughing so hard last night when I was watching Summit. He's like, bro. He's like, why? And the guy's name that did the article was Jared, and that's Summit's name. He's like, you give Jared's bad name. He's like, you should get fired. Like, it was pretty entertaining. It was pretty entertaining. It's because they were glazing Marathon when that came out. Oh, yeah. It was like the exact same time of like a play test was happening, and they were doing that other play test. Brainchild says, that they never follow the roadmap. Look at Anthem, Avengers, Destiny. The list goes on and on. Yeah, we say it all the time, Brain, right? We say it all the time. Me and Sarge, we're like, fuck roadmaps. I don't care what you're selling me, okay? This is exactly why I didn't buy Space Marines 2. I don't care how many people tell me it's a fantastic game. It has nothing to do with the actual game. It's about the company and what the way they do stuff, okay? I'm a big fan of Saber Interactive, okay? I love SnowRunners and stuff like that, but I'm not buying the game because you tell me there's a roadmap for 5 years. Okay, what are you selling me now? Right? What are you selling me now? They showed Space Marines 2 and said this is the game, and they're like, oh, and by the way, we have all this stuff coming in later in the year. I'm like, cool, peace. I'll buy it when the game is complete. Right? I'll buy it when it's down the road. Like, they start advertising, and again, this is not picking on Space Marines. This is just the industry in a whole. Right? They start advertising the roadmap before the game even comes out. Battlefield 6 did it. They started advertising Battlefield 6 roadmap before the game launched, right? Everyone does it. I hate it. I hate it. Tell me what I'm buying. What am I buying? Okay? Now, don't get me wrong. There's other games that are cheaper, okay, that they have a full experience, and then they're like, there's a roadmap coming down the road. Cool, but is there enough in the game now, right? Arc Raiders. It's a $40 game, not a $70 game, right? They have a roadmap, but they said, we're not telling you the roadmap. We'll tell you when we're ready to show you, right? Here's the game that we're giving you. Here's the game that we're giving you. We don't care about the roadmap right now. There's no roadmap. They say there's no roadmap because if they give you a roadmap, those are promises that they have to keep or may not keep, and then people get mad at them, so they're not promising anything. What's going on, Kylo? Altern, good morning. Altern says, by the way, after 1 year, we'll add the most basic horde mode ever. And it took us 1 year to make. Hal says, I'm actually curious on how it will change Marathon's development. I know they're also making a lot of changes and adding many features. Kylo says, Nintendo's advertised a paid DLC for Pokemon that wasn't even released yet. It's always nice when to market your DLC before the game comes out, right? Travis says 30, play devil's advocate here, but maybe it's so people know, unlike EA, that they plan on supporting it for more than for launch day. What that tells me, and maybe you fall into this category, Travis, where you get tricked by what they're going to sell you, okay? Me personally is, game comes out, right? You could go back all the way back to 2013, 14, or actually it was 2014, just months before Destiny 1 came out. And Destiny 1 marketed Destiny 1. And then they were marketing House of Wolves, okay, and Dark Below, or I'm sorry, reverse that, Dark Below and House of Wolves before the game even launched. They're like, hey, the game is this price, but if you buy it with these expansions, it's, what they charge, $15 a piece? And if you bought them later, it was $20 a piece. They were already advertising the DLC before the game even launched. And then when we bought the regular game, people got into the section where the DLC was. And that's where the conversation came. Oh, they took that content out of the game to sell it as DLC. Okay? This is where the initial of I hate Bungie comes from, because they literally sold you stuff, and you'll get people, no, it wasn't on the thing, and they all do the exact same thing. They defend them. But they did exactly 100%. They took the shit out of the game and then tried to sell you because they were trying to get $70, $80, $90 out of you, and this is going back to 2014. Right? It's the same stuff. Winzo, what's going on, Winzo? It's nice to see that the Embark, they don't want to say it's a roadmap, because if they leads to broken promises, etc., they said it, which also is nice to hear. Obviously, they say things ahead of time a little bit, but They have a roadmap, but they don't want to tell you the roadmap. And again, don't tell us shit. Because if you tell us stuff, then we're like, oh my God. Like, it's okay if it's a leak. If someone, ass sucker 64-9er, comes out and says, it's claimed, it's rumored, I made a video of it, this is the stuff that's coming out into the game, cool. Okay? But if the company comes out and tells you this stuff is happening, you're like excited about, not even about what you're playing, you're excited about the stuff in the future. It's just like, just shut up. Make the game, sell the game, and then once the people have played the game, down the road, then you can be like, hey, it's been like 4 or 5 months. Guess what, guys? We have some content for you that's coming out in the thing. Now everyone wants, like, I want the game, I want the game, I want the game, I want the game. I want season 1, I want season 1, I want season 1. I want season 2, I want season 2, I want season 2. It's like, shut up. Just play the game. Everyone's always wants the next thing. They're not even enjoying the thing that they have. They're always looking about what's in the future. Imagine having sex, and while you're having sex, you're looking forward to having sex the next time. Like, what? Enjoy the moment, man. Like, well, that's a bad example because a lot of people don't know what that is, right? They don't even know what that is. The Avengers roadmap was so funny. I remember they considered basic quality of life updates as content updates. Oh, God, Jason. They're like, we're going to add... we're going to add inventory management. We're like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Kylo says, I love Pokemon TCG, but Pokemon games haven't been good for a while now. Pokemon deserves better. Charles Hawk says about 35 hours in Battlefield 6. They keep rotating small maps. I just saw I don't know if it's a forum or something, but people are like super upset because they've never played in the rotation map, they've never played the New York map or Empire State map or something like that. I was like, how does that work? How do you play and never, ever get a certain map to come into the rotation? Brainchild says they don't support it, though. They claim to support it to rope you into buying it. Then they don't actually follow through after they get your money. Yeah, it's like a business deal. Bro, can you give me $100? Loan me $100. Dude, I'm going to double your money. I'm going to double your money for $100. If you just give me $100 right now, I can double your money. Then you give them $100 because you're going to get double your money. And then they don't give you the money. They don't give you the $100 back. They don't give you double the money. They don't even give you your original money. And then they stop calling you. That's the gaming industry. It's like, yeah, we got so many good plans. You guys should not buy the product for what it is. You should buy the product for what it's going to be 12 months from now, 18 months from now. Crowd says these are conversations happening right now about the server slam. A lot of people, myself included, don't realize how little content we had access to and felt the game seemed kind of basic. But that was a server slam. It wasn't a beta. That test was more for them than it was for you. It was a sample. And I think people should have played the games to understand what the game was. Okay. A lot of people think it was like a beta and they're like, oh, I took it out. And you can hear the people complaining are the people that played the game ahead of time and played Test Tech 1 and Test Tech 2 and where all the other things were. And they're like, oh, there was so much in the other thing. This is a downgrade. This wasn't for the players. This was for the servers to help the players later when the game comes out 2 weeks from now and they know what it can take, right? They were doing a small sample for us, sort of like a demo, like I said yesterday, but yet it was more for them to make sure that the servers were good for launch 2 weeks from now so they can make some of the changes, right? Embark knows what they want to give you. They know what they want to give you. They've tested it, obviously, because a lot of people have played the play test. They know what the game that they made is, and now they wanted to make sure it would run smooth. So hopefully when it comes out 10 days from now, it'll run smooth. Charles Hawk says, I've only played Firestorm twice. Really? In 30, how many hours did you play? 35 hours? You've only played Firestorm twice? Huh? What? Crowded House says, I was looking up a video last night and saw all kinds of crazy shit. Had no idea was in the game. The older playtest allowed people to see more, but I didn't play those. I don't know why people are comparing the other test to this test. This is a server test. The other ones were tests of the actual game. Game mechanics, weapons, bad guys. Hence why the NPCs were stronger this time around. Windows says, do you think Embark could have another Baldur's Gate 3 moment where is that companies come out and say you can't expect the companies you have these standards? I think that's happening right now. I think that was the part ahead of time. That's why there's a hit piece on them. I think that's why IGN did what they did. Okay. Did anybody find what date that was? The IGN 5 month. You know what? IGN Arc Raiders. I got to find this because I would like to find Arc Raiders review. Let me see. Arc Raiders IGN review. First look 5 months ago. There it is. I found it. Let me see what date it was.
Arc Raiders is blistering.
Okay. 5 months ago. It was on April 29th. Okay. So now let me go to my content. April 29th, because I know we watched it pretty... God, that's a long time ago. Jesus Christ. Where has the year gone, chat? Where has the year gone? Okay. Okay, we got to go back to April 29th because we watched it shortly after. So maybe May 1st, May 2nd. Okay, April 29th. Borderlands 4 Deep Dive. Increase. Nintendo. That's that. Cancellation. COD. Destiny Lore. X-Men. I don't see... I know we covered it. There's no way we covered it 2 weeks later. It's got to be... You know what? Let's look at this one and this one. Let me see. All right, let's see. It's the AI. It would be a video because we watched the video. So it's not in this one. It'd be shortly after from happening. Why? Because they had the digital card now. Okay, let's see. We watched the video. That's Borderlands. We watched the Borderlands stuff. Did we watch? No, it wasn't here. Okay, so it wasn't there. That was this and this one. Maybe it's this one or this one. Let's see if we can find it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another... That's GTA 6. No, it wasn't there. Then we have this one. We'll find it. We'll find it. I know we watched it. No, maybe it was like a week after. That's those two. Could be this one. This one. This one. I don't know. I don't know which one it would be. I know we commented on it and we were like, what the fuck are they talking about? It was so obviously it was a hit piece. This is GTA 6. Yeah, it's not that one. That's what happens when you have a live show and you're going through stuff now. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another day. We go down the rabbit hole live. For better or for worse. No, that's The Shire. We watched that. Was that 5 months ago? Jesus Christ. Where does the time go? I feel like we just talked about the Shire. Shire? That's Force Gaming. No. maybe we didn't watch it right away. I don't know. You know what? We'll have to find it. I'll find it off stream because I don't know where IGN's review of it is, but we did cover it. That's before Game Fest or a Summer Game Fest. My goodness, that's incredible. Keep getting Empire State and Siege of Cairo. I wonder if it's because if they're fixing game modes or whatnot. Right? It makes sense. Let's start off with two Battlefield stories. Okay, we'll start off with Battlefield. One, I want to bring up that I thought this was interesting, right? Because a lot of people are saying that Battlefield is doing very well, right? Very well. Now, when did Battlefield 6 come out? What was the release date? Battlefield 6 release date. Okay, the Battlefield release date was October 10th. Okay, October 10th. So you would think, because this is from the week of October 11th. Okay, Call of Duty was the most played game in the U.S. on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series S and X for the week ending Saturday, October 11th. Now, obviously, the game came out the 10th. So Battlefield 6 is on the board, but not really on the board. Okay. Now, the first day, they had 747,000 on Steam. And they had, console and stuff. But you look at this, okay, and it says Call of Duty was the best October 11th during Black Ops 6 beta, or Black Ops 7 beta, sorry. Battlefield debuted in terms of players at number 12 on PlayStation 5 and number 8 on Xbox 24 hours after it launched. So we'll have to see where this chart lasts next month. So when the next charts come out, whenever they decide to show these charts, and again, we don't know really what these charts are based on, if it's sales, physical sales, digital sales, whatever, played. It says PlayStation's top 15 games ranked by total weekly active users, player engagement by a tracker. Call of Duty was number 1. Then Fortnite, then Roblox, then Grand Theft Auto 5 Remastered, then NBA 2K26, then Skate 2026, then Ghosts of Yotei, right? Then WWE 2K25, then Minecraft, then Marvel Rivals, then Madden NFL 26, then Battlefield 6, then NBA 2K25, Borderlands 4, and Apex Legends. Look at all those first-party titles on PlayStation. Look at all of them. There's one. There's one, which is Ghost of Yotei. Look at all those first-party titles over on PlayStation. Then over on Xbox, we have a top 15 games ranked by total weekly active users, week ending in October 11th. Okay, player engagement tracker. Call of Duty was number 1, then Fortnite, then Roblox, same across the board, then Grand Theft Auto, then Minecraft, then Skate, then NBA 2K26, then Battlefield 6, then Hogwarts Legacy, then Helldivers 2, Marvel Rivals, Borderlands 4, Supermarket Simulator, okay, Rainbow Six Siege, okay, and Rocket League. Again, look at all the first-party titles there, right? Obviously, Call of Duty's first-party title now, Minecraft's first-party title, but everything else. Look at this PlayStation game up here, number 10 on the list here. So you can see what people are playing, right? Call of Duty, Fortnite, Roblox, Grand Theft Auto, Minecraft. Okay, those are the big 5 across the board. Minecraft's number 9 over here in the top 10. Okay, lots of people. Marvel Rivals just out of the top 10 spot on Xbox here. I thought that was interesting. So we'll see what happens when the actual, when this next one comes out. See where Battlefield sits, if it's number 1, 2, whatever. Okay. On top of that, I want to talk about Battlefield 6 coming from a film industry. Okay. In the film industry, and I'm assuming in the gaming industry, I have friends in the gaming industry. Okay. Your credits are, and when I say credits, I'm not talking about like monetary value. I'm talking about your credits of your application, your resume builder. Okay. Is very important. Okay. As a person that was in the industry for 20 years, in the film industry, when you work on a project, you get to choose if it was a good project or bad project, if you want to put your name on the credit. Okay. Like you want your name, you could put a stage name, you could put a fake name, whatever you want, but credits are very important. especially for an artist that's trying to get their next job, because if it shows that you want to work in the industry, but what have you done? Why is there a gap of 4 or 5 years and you're not credited for stuff? Could be devastating because someone might not hire you because you're like, well, what did you do recently? And they're like, oh, I worked on this, I worked on that, I worked on this game, right? You have a very good resume. It's a big deal. Well, apparently Battlefield 6 kind of screwed up here, right? It says Battlefield 6 apparently failed to credit all these essential game developers. Now, from an outside perspective, a lot of you guys won't know or understand what I'm saying here. But this is a dick move, okay? And maybe it's not malicious, maybe it's not on purpose, but I'll tell you the scenario that happens in the movie industry all the time, and maybe, just maybe, this is what happened here, right? I haven't read the article yet, right? But maybe, because in the film industry, when you work on a project, a film, a television show, a commercial, one of the most low bar positions is a production assistant, right? Production assistants are people that run and get coffee, put the paper in the printer, bring radios to people, get drinks for people, get food for people. And then sometimes they stay quiet on set and they stand outside the door and they're trying to work their way up. Office PAs are people that work with like the script supervisor, or they say, hey, because the upper echelon of people don't have time to do the credits. Or maybe someone's sitting in the edit bay while they're doing the credits and they didn't get everyone's name because someone got fired and they didn't put all the lists down, or whatever happens, okay? So someone that's relying on what your credits are to prove that you actually worked on something is held to someone that knows nothing about the industry, is a person that's just trying to make it into the industry. I don't know if it's the same in the video game space, but I'm assuming that a higher up is not sitting down going, okay, we got Ted's on the list, okay? There's things now, I would assume, that you have to submit yourself into the thing, and then someone takes those papers and they add it and whatnot to give credits. So then when the credits scroll, right, and you guys know when I finish a game on chat, okay, or in stream, we watch the full credits, okay? Regardless if I'm interested in the credits or not, we watch the credits because I respect that, because I worked in the industry. I know that people stand up and leave the theater when they leave, but I don't. I stay there till the very end because I worked in the industry and I want to respect the people that worked on the thing, so I see their names scroll across the stuff. Maybe I know the person, maybe I don't know the person, maybe I don't give it two shits, but I'm going to sit there and watch the credits scroll because that's it. You look at the people and then you start to know people. Now people look at the directors, they look at the producers, they might look at the camera guy, the cinematographer, and everybody else are just like, whatever, right? But a lot of people that pay attention, like with the sound score, the sound design, the special effects, start looking at the people and you're like, oh, I remember that guy. He did a really good job, okay? And you know their actual credits. This is a big deal, but not a big deal for everybody that's watching, but a big deal for the industry itself. Okay, so let's read this. If you guys like what I do, we cover news stories, have conversations. If you like it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. All right, so Battlefield 6 apparently failed to credit all the essential game developers. A prominent game developer who worked on Battlefield said the credits are missing some essential names. Okay, Battlefield 6 is a big success in EA with more than 7 million copies, but the game's launch was caused a stir in some circles. Veteran developer Marcus Leto said that the game failed to properly credit a number of developers who worked on it. Battlefield 6 credits list of a series of developers from Ridgeline Games, a studio that worked on Battlefield 6 single-player campaign, and this is that fifth studio. Okay, this is that fifth studio. Campaign at EA opened and closed the span of 2 years. Not everyone from the studio was credited, though, and Leto said that the LinkedIn post was also disappointed by the Ridgeline helped lay the foundation for what the Battlefield 6 would become, and everyone who worked on it deserves to be recognized, Leto said. And I agree 100%. 100% they should be recognized that they were in the credits, but they didn't, because some person in the ladder, I'm assuming it's a person that probably doesn't work there anymore, probably a lower level person that was just like, didn't think it was a big deal, but it is a big deal. Okay, it says, quote, these talented developers worked tirelessly for 1 to 2.5 years, building the foundation of a game before I left voluntarily. Okay, and the studio subsequently shuttered, he said. Despite the significant contribution, most of who laid off were also regulated to a special thanks section, a very end of the credits, and several were omitted entirely, including myself. Okay, now that's another big fuck up there. right? And this is upper management fucking up because they had a studio that worked there for 2.5 years. They were open. This is the 5th studio. I know people were saying there's only 4 studios. No, they had 5 studios work on Battlefield 6. Remember that. And the game still has problems, especially the campaign section where these guys worked on. Okay. So they shuttered the studio 2.5 years later, and they just said, oh, you know what? Let's just put them in the special thanks section. Even though they could have done, art design, level design, character design, whatever it is, they're just like, just put them in the special thanks. We forgot who they work with. Out of sight, out of mind. Okay. Leto published an edit image of Battlefield 6 credits to include the names of the roles of the people who also were left out. Game developers and the team effort or very contribution deserves fair acknowledgement, he said. 100%. I agree with this man. Developer says, Leto says, were omitted from Battlefield 6 credits included lead character artist. See what I'm saying? Lead character artist and wasn't in the credits. Now, let's say Naranajo, okay, I butchered the name, okay? Now he goes to the next job. It's like, hey, what did you do from 2000 to 2025? Well, I worked on Battlefield 6. Oh, really? Well, we looked at the credits. We couldn't find you. Oh, well, because they let us out. They left me out. Oh, that's likely story, right? You see what I'm saying? Like, sure. Okay. Lead technical artist. Okay. Software engineer, and Jessica Moore and Dan Carr along with Leto himself. GameSpot has contacted EA for the comment in the situation. Don't worry. They'll change it by giving him a gift card to the EA gift shop. All right. Developers being left out of credits has happened on a number of occasions before, including Donkey Kong Country Return HD and Baldur's Gate 3. Okay. Again, this happens all the time. Wrong credit, not in the credits, because it's all left up to a lower level minimum wage employee that thinks it's stupid for them to do the actual thing, but it's very important for the people that are working on the actual project that they get credited. Okay? It's very important that they get credited because it's what have you done for me lately? If you have a gap in your thing and you worked on one show or one game and then you have this gap of 10 years because someone forgot to give you a credit, which takes 30 seconds to just check how many people worked on it, how many people did we have, right? Give them their credit. But after Battlefield 6 launch, Leto said a huge congratulations to all the colleagues involved around the global in shipping the immense title. Know how much hard work it led into. Wish you were all the best. Leto then is a video game industry veteran and perhaps the best known contributor to the games and the co-hosting of Halo Master Chief at Bungie. And when the company was located in Chicago, he rose up and became a director at Bungie and spent 15 plus years with the company before leaving in 2012. Imagine if they didn't know that. Imagine if they didn't tell you that he worked for Bungie for 15 years. Be like, oh, what did he do? It doesn't really matter what he did, right? Well, it matters to him. Okay. Then he started a company in V1 Interactive, which made the game Disintegration. Oh, that game was terrible. And failed to find the audience, though, and the game studio was also shut down. He then joined EA in 2021 and worked on Battlefield until 2024. But it's only 3 years of his life. Who cares, right? So, dick move by, and again, I don't think it was maliciously, but upper management should have checked, hey, do we have all the people that worked on this game? You know, that studio that we closed down 2.5 years into the cycle of the game? Do we have their information? No. That's cool. So, Red Dead Redemption gave me 30 minutes of credits. We sat through 54 minutes of credits of the Star Wars Lego saga, complete saga. That one, the last Lego game that came out like 2-3 years ago. We sat through a 57-minute credit sequence. Okay? It's not asking for a lot to just give credit for the people that actually worked on the game. It doesn't matter if they worked there for one day. It doesn't matter if they worked there for 13 years. Okay? You have imagine this, chat. Beyond Good and Evil 2. They've been working on that game for 17 years. Imagine working and starting at a company. Okay, you started as a production assistant on Beyond Good and Evil 2. You then rise through the ranks, got all the way up to like lead art designer, and then they forgot to put your name in the credits after you put 17 years of your life into that actual thing. You left the studio to try to get your next job, and you're like, hey, I would like a job here at the next greatest. Well, what'd you do? Well, I worked on Beyond Good and Evil 2 for 17 years. No one says you did. Imagine what that would do, because they're looking for an experienced person, but they can't officially find out if you did or not, because the new company's not going to take the time to call the other company and be like, hey, do you have this guy that worked there for 17? They don't care. Show us, oh, cool, you worked on Baldur's Gate, Beyond Good and Evil 2. That's cool, right? But it's a dick move. But it happens all the time in the movie industry. I'm sure it happens all the time in the video game industry that we don't hear about all the time, right? So it's just a dick move. But these are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. Please make sure you share, like, subscribe, and if you like what I do here, check out some of our other videos. Thanks for watching. Ron Slusher says, Mind's Eye credit scene has got to be epic. I mean, if you play the game and finish it, I like the games that actually put the credits where you can just click the credits. You don't have to finish the game to see the credits. That's a nice thing to show. Like, you get home, and you're like, hey, dear, I know I missed our children's birthdays and holidays, and I was working 16-hour days. Well, this is all for what it was. Here, look, there's my name. Oh, they forgot your name. Oh, shit, they forgot my name. You know what I mean? Winzo says, I had sent a wrong one. I sent you the right one this time. I'll look at it in a second, Winzo. Big Box says, this is just vanity, one of the 7 deadly sins. A man shouldn't care about his name scrolling on TV. Nobody watches. He signed a contract and got paid. Move on. Big Box, that's the most stupidest fucking thing I think I actually heard you ever say. It really is. Tell me you know nothing about the industry without telling me you know nothing about the industry. It has nothing to do about vanity. Has nothing to do about vanity. Has everything to do about getting your next job and showing that you don't have a gap in your work in your work resume. But whatever. Everything's about who you know and what you know in the arts. Okay? Everything's about who you know and what you know. You either get a job because someone knows that you worked for another company, or because someone that you know gets you in the position there, and they put their name up for you to get you that job. What a stupid statement. Vanity. You know what? This is vanity. I won't read your messages at all. At all. What's going on, Mr. Luke? All right, so let's watch the Battlefield 6 Season 1 update. Let's watch the Battlefield 6. Let me actually read what you had put in Winzo. What'd you put in the Discord here? This is, developers say Baldur's Gate 3 shouldn't be raised stand. Oh, yeah. That stuff we know about. There was hit pieces on Baldur's Gate 3 when it came out as well. Same type of stuff. Same type of stuff. All right, so this is from content creator Who's Immortal. He's got the Battlefield 6 1 update, everything we know. So let's watch this. If you guys like it, his link's in the description down below. For vanity purposes, just vanity purposes, we're going to give credit for the person that we're watching the video for down below. All right, here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Coming up here in just a few days' time, we are going to start to see the first of the major updates roll out for Battlefield 6's content year, or content future here, with all the post-launch support. Starting on October 28th, Season 1 is kicking off, and it's going to add a bunch of new content to the game and some major features.
I can't make it any louder. Let me make sure.
As well. And today, wanted to go through and break down absolutely everything that we know about Season 1 so far. Now, we should start to see some official marketing, maybe some official blogs and other trailers and whatnot detailing even more of the specific stuff coming with Season 1. But we have already seen a general overview announced, and of course, we have a major leak and a major rumor connecting to this season as well. But as mentioned, October 28th is that official start date for Season 1, and the seasonal content rollout is actually going to be pretty consistent. The devs have basically said every month in the season there's going to be new.
I think what we saw last week when they said they're adding in Rogue Ops, they're adding a 4v4 section inside Battlefield, which is so tone deaf of what this game is. A large-scale open warfare game, and they're like, we hear you. We've added a 4v4. We added a 4v4. Thank you so much.
new content that ends up releasing. So to round out this year, to end 2025, October, November, and December are each going to have their own content drop in Phase 1, Phase 2, and Phase 3. So we'll go phase by phase here and break down what exactly to expect with each of these and all the known details that we've got so far. As we do so, if you guys enjoy the...
Is he just covering that, or is he going to cover the... I guess we'll find out if he's covering the free-to-play Battle Royale and the Gauntlet mode?
Video, you find the information helpful. A like rating is always seriously appreciated. Much love to everyone who does take the time to do so. It truly does help grow the channel. And speaking of growing the channel, if you guys are new here, quite a few of you are. If you guys like what you see, you want to make sure you're always up to date with everything going on in Battlefield, whether it's news, updates, leaks, rumors, tips, and tricks. It's all right here. So feel free to hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications, and help us climb one step closer to reaching 1 million subscribers. Anyway, first up here, we've got Rogue Ops, which is going to be Phase 1 of Season 1 for Battlefield 6.
So this is your choices as a Battlefield 6 player, right? You bought the game for large-scale warfare because you're a fan of Battlefield. Instead, you got the XP farming in Portal. You have the Battle Royale free-to-play mode coming in. You have the free-to-play Gauntlet mode, okay, which you still earn XP, I believe, in the full game from these modes, if I'm not mistaken. So technically, you didn't have to actually buy the game to get XP. And now Season 1, which happens next week, which opens up the 2 free-to-play modes, you also get the 4v4 PvP mode in a large-scale warfare game with tanks and vehicles. You're going to play 4v4, so you have to wait for like 8 weeks, whatever it is, until. Or actually, is it a month? Not even 4 weeks, and then you have to wait for the next thing to come in because each month they have something coming in.
And this is going to introduce a handful of new pieces of content. First up, we've got Blackwell Fields as a brand new map. This is support for all combat sizes and features land and air vehicles. And they describe this as just as the fires of war from the single player campaign start to cool, Pax Armada double agents launch a series of attacks on NATO targets. These strikes begin at a recently recommissioned American air.
That map looks horrendous. Just look at the snapshot they gave us. So your cover's just a bunch of oil rigs. Looks horrendous. I've watched a lot of Battlefield content. I hate every single map they've put in the game. Even after I played the actual game and played for the 4 maps that I played in my time, and I put about 40 hours into the beta when it was out in the 2 weeks, okay? I hated the maps. And when I watched all the streamers and all the stuff that played the new maps that weren't in the actual beta that we played, they look awful as well, right? Design-wise. Not as bad as 2042 when they first launched, but still design-wise, they're bad because people are overrunning on one side. There's not a lot of cover on certain maps. Obviously, they're not full-scale warfare with all-out warfare, with the tanks and the copters on all the maps.
Base in the California Badlands. So that's sort of the lore behind Blackwell Fields. We're also going to see a new mode called Strike Point. This is designed for 4v4 combat. Strike Point is an intense small team tactical mode where a squad fights another squad across multiple rounds to capture a key objective. There is only 1 life each round.
Now, Strike Point's only in the game for the 4 weeks, right? And then they remove it?
So make it count. So essentially here, Strike Point is going to function as a search and destroy mode, basically, which I think is going to be really, really cool for Battlefield gameplay here.
But why couldn't you do Strike Point within the bigger maps? Why couldn't you do, like, while you're in the map, all of a sudden it says, hey, Squadron 1, we need you to attack this section. Squadron 2, we need you to attack this section. And then on the other side, it tells them what section they divide. So then you're on a 64 team, right? But each of those groups are defending certain things. They don't all sway towards one or the other. Their objective is based on they're being told to cover that one, defend that one, or being told to attack that one instead of, hey, giving you free reign. That way it feels organic, right? So then everyone's all over the map and you don't have people just all conglomerating, to one side of the map or the other.
We're definitely excited to test that out. We also have the APC Traverser Mark.
Even this, instead of just doing one group of 4 people trying to say, hey, attack A, or they take this other group of 4 and say attack B, they say, hey, 8 people, so 2 squads, they say it's random, right? So squadron 1 and 2, you're going to go for A. 3 and 4, you're going for B, right? 5 and 6, you're going for C, and it breaks them up. So there's action across the entire map.
2, this is going to be a new land vehicle. They say this armored personnel carrier seats 4, 1 driver, 1 roof gunner, and 2 back.
Instead of a 4v4 game mode.
Passenger side gunners, serving mostly as an infantry support vehicle. We've got a handful of new weapons coming in this first phase, including the SOR 300C carbine, a low rate of fire subcompact carbine chambered in higher damage 300 blackout ammo compared to the platform's 5.56 version. We also have the Mini FIX Sniper. Remember the Scout Elite? Then consider this lightweight bolt-action sniper rifle designed for the aggressive recon soldier, a mini fix to your needs. We also have the GGH-22 sidearm, a high-capacity, high rate of fire, and low-damage pistol meant to bail out a soldier when their primary, and in this case of assault, both their primaries, run dry. Then we got a couple of new attachments coming in this.
I wonder if you get these right away, or you have to unlock them as you do the game mode.
Phase as well, including the rail cover and the LPVO. They say these are available for a variety of rifles and LMGs. The rail cover and the low-powered variable
I love when they say "and more." They don't tell you what the "and more" is. It's just "and more."
The LPVO are the first of several to drop after launch to make you rethink how to spend those attachment points.
It's like, here's the 5 things that we really want to point out, and then there's more.
But while that's all that's officially detailed on the graph,
if you don't have the time to tell us what it is, then we don't have the time to care.
For Rogue Ops and on the general roadmap here, there's also the "and more" section. And this is where maybe the biggest post-launch rumor for Battlefield 6 comes into play, the Battle Royale. As we've talked about a couple of times now and just had it reconfirmed via some leaks and rumors the other day, the Battle Royale mode for Battlefield 6 is rumored to be dropping on October 20th.
I don't think it's rumored anymore. I think it's official, isn't it? Isn't Battle Royale and Gauntlet mode coming out on the 28th?
Alongside the start of Season 1. Now, keep in mind that is just a leak. That's just a rumor, so that
date
is fluid. That could
When was this video made? Hold on. Let me see something. 1 day ago? Okay, maybe it's still a leak.
Absolutely change. They may push it back for phase 2, which we'll talk about here in just a moment. Core classes, each with their own individualized roles, so you can really go through, and if you have a full squad, dedicate roles, maybe double up on one of them because it's super useful or really effective with your playstyle. But all 4 classes are going to have defined roles. There will be quads and duos apparently, at least at launch, because some of the leaked achievements reference getting wins in quads and reference getting wins.
The funny part to me is that a battle royale defeats the whole point of what Battlefield is. It's just small squads running around, not a team, right? Not a like 50 versus 50. It's which you can do in Fortnite at one point. I don't know if you can still do it in Fortnite, right? Now it's just small groups of solo 2, 3, or 4 groups around the map, which fundamentally is just everything that Battlefield isn't. And again, this is the end of Battlefield as a franchise. Okay, a lot of people are thinking I'm like being hyperbolic. No, what I'm saying is, if a battle royale comes in and is very successful, Battlefield, the franchise, dies as what it is, because that is no longer a Battlefield game. And if it fails, I mean, from a business standpoint, that's just a lot of money gone to waste. But then they have to shift, right? They tried it before, right? They tried the extraction before. They tried the Battle Royale before. Didn't work out because it was behind a paywall. And now it's free to play, so we'll see if it works out better for them. But if it succeeds, Battlefield dies. And if it fails, I think Battlefield also dies, because it's just not what it is anymore. Battlefield is not what Battlefield is. Battlefield is a hybrid of Call of Duty, a hybrid of Fortnite. Again, not visually, but just mechanically what they're trying to do.
In duos, we're currently unsure based on the data mined information about solos and trios. It would be really interesting to see how those could potentially play, though. In this Battle Royale, there is full-on Battlefield 6 destruction, so very similar and basically the same destruction system as what we have over in multiplayer. So buildings that are, housing campers, you can go through and you can take those out if someone's posted up in a choke point. And
How stupid would it be if the Battle Royale came in and it didn't have destruction? Like, you'd be like, why would you have destruction in the regular game but not in the Battle Royale?
You got a launcher, you could try and tear down, a wall or something, and then suddenly they're a little bit more exposed and you can hopefully take them out. That's going to be really, really cool for this Battle Royale, and I'm really excited to see how that fully plays out. There will be second chances available in this, obviously directly through revives, but also redeploy stations that you can go to and cap.
How's that going to work? How's that going to work in a Battle Royale? Because if you have a duo or a trio or a 4-man squad, everyone just runs medic. You'll never beat them. You have to wipe out the entire squad, but they can always revive each other. So are they going to fundamentally change what the defibs do, where it's like on a timer? Or can I constantly, or are they going to force me where you can only have one medic on your team? How are they going to do this? I hope they thought this through.
Capitalize on and actually have a teammate redeploy. There will be various different missions and contracts to complete, including missions to take out other players or teams, to go through and complete various objectives, capture zones, drop things off, so on and so forth. And those will give you various different rewards, including a custom loadout drop for completing select missions. So yes, you will actually get a custom primary of your choosing. You can build it out beforehand, just like over in Warzone. There's also a free loadout or class drop that happens in the middle of the match as well for every.
Why wouldn't you pick medic? Why wouldn't you pick medic in a battle royale where you have to stay alive the longest?
Everyone, but if you want to try and get your custom gun really early on into the game, you can go through and complete a handful of contracts. And then for early game, you do drop in with a pistol, which you can fully customize, which is pretty cool. So you can have some familiarity right out of the gate there. So
is there no classes? Is there no classes in the battle royale? You just drop in, you're just a soldier, and you have to find the defib? I mean, how are they doing this?
The Battle Royale mode sounds awesome. I cannot wait to get my hands on and really see what this is all about. But that's just phase 1. We then get to phase 2, known as California Resistance, which launches on November 18th. And they say this is all around the liberation of Southern California. Prepare for combat and a new map and mode, as well as 2 new weapons and more. So with this, we've got the East.
I didn't know this was based on reality.
Wood map. This is support for all combat sizes and features land vehicles and helicopters. As a part of coordinated strikes across the west coast of the United States, PAX Armada sleeper agents embedded into the Eastwood community, a sleepy, affluent suburb connected to a golf course, are activated. So that's the lore behind the map. Sabotage as a new mode is designed for 8v8 combat. Destroy.
What is the deal? How do you make a I just wish they just got rid of the Battlefield name. How do you make a Battlefield game and your 2 modes are 4v4 and 8v8? So November, you get 4v4. Okay. December, you're going to get 8v8.
As many sites as possible before the round time finishes. Use your creativity and your arsenal to do so.
This one says limited time. The other one didn't say limited time.
Each team has 1 round on.
Did it? I have to back up for a second. Let me see something. No, it just says new mode. So that 4v4 is staying in the game, where this one is actually coming to the game and then leaving. So the 4v4 stays.
Battle Royale mode sounds. You're prepared for Eastwood, part of Eastwood community, a sleepy, affluent suburb.
And this one
new mode
leaves.
Is designed for 8v8 combat. Destroy as many sites as possible before the round time finishes. Use your creativity and your arsenal to do so. Each team has 1 round on offense and defense. The team who successfully detonates the most sites wins. There's also going to be battle pickups as a feature. Veterans will be familiar with battle pickups. Unlike weapons that appear in a loadout, battle pickups are high-tech, powerful weaponry that are limited in ammo and available throughout any given map. Where will these pickups live exactly? That's up to you and your squad to find.
Ron says you might as well add a kart racing mode at this point. They did, Ron. They did. Inside Portal, you could race tanks and jets and all the other vehicles through little openings and whatnot for timers. They've added the kart racer inside of Portal.
Out. We also, as mentioned, have a couple of new weapons coming in this phase as well. The DB-12 shotgun, a double-barrel pump-action shotgun that feeds from two
Feels
different
good, man.
tubes.
They said that they're going to put they're working on a naval combat. Why there's no naval at all? I don't even think there's body of water in any of the maps that we've seen so far.
Trigger pull.
Well, there is in New York. You just can't go in the water.
Fires a shell or a slug from one barrel, a second trigger pull fires from the other, then the pump action rechambers both barrels. We also have the trait sidearm, high damage with a low rate of fire. This 8-round revolver is strong up close with a considerable damage drop off compared to its 44 Magnum comrade. And we've got the slim hand stop attachment, the third attachment to come in Season 1. This grip offers an alternative choice for underbarrel choices with its unique blend of ergonomic and handling changes. So some pretty interesting stuff there in Phase 2. And of course, there's and more listed for there, but we don't have any direct leaks or rumors for anything with that as of yet, but I'm sure more info will come here as time goes on. And then lastly, to close out the year on December 9th, we're going to have a Winter Offensive, presumably the last major update before the holiday break and everything. They say Season 1's final phase challenges your squad to break through an icy stalemate. Expect Empire State to freeze over alongside several other winter.
Imagine if this map was fought across the bridge and across the water and also on the land on both sides. Then you would have a naval naval boats in the water and whatnot, and then fighting on the trench, and then you could have planes flying overhead, and you could fight underneath the bridge on the catwalks and stuff.
Updates. So Ice Lock Empire State, this is a limited time map. Environmental threats have been detected. Temperatures have dropped well below freezing in Brooklyn. Gear up, stay warm, and take
again, this is another limited time event. Hold on, did I hear how many people can play it?
Holiday break and everything. They say that? Season 1's final phase challenges your squad to break through an icy stalemate. Expect Empire State to freeze over along.
Maybe it is a stalemate. Maybe it's a stalemate across the bridge on this particular map as limited time event. Maybe that's what it is.
Alongside several other wintry updates. So Ice Lock Empire State, this is a limited time map. Environmental threats have been detected. Temperatures have dropped well below freezing in Brooklyn. Gear up, stay warm, and take complete control of the borough with this limited time visual update to Empire State. There's also going to be the Ice Lock limited time event. They say the Ice Lock looms. This LTM is centered around a mechanic called Freeze, which is a gameplay modifier that is only active in this specific experience. So maybe it's going to make all of us stop moving when that happens. We'll have to.
That sounds awful. That sounds awful. What? We've talked about this back. God, was it Destiny? I forget what game it was, where they freeze you and you can't do anything. It's one of the most frustrating things that you could do to a gamer is when they're fighting, all of a sudden they get frozen. Okay? And then you can't do anything. You can't protect yourself. You can't do anything. You're just a sitting duck and you get murdered. Okay? Now, let's just put it this way. Let's say it does freeze everybody. What type of game mode is it where all of a sudden we're running and then everyone freezes on both sides? So what is that? A time to grab a drink? Like, what is happening? Okay? What is happening? Nobody likes to get frozen where they can't do anything. That's not a good mechanic in any game. Okay?
Wait and see.
Especially a multiplayer game.
Then there's also going to be the Ice Climbing Axe melee weapon. This one's pretty straightforward. It is a melee, and it's an ice axe. So it's about as obvious as it gets there. I don't know what else to detail as far as that goes, right? But some pretty solid content updates coming in the not-so-distant future, especially.
You do understand the difference between Fortnite, Dustin, where you can play as Scooby-Doo, The Simpsons, okay, and you're jumping around and flying and doing all these different things, and a sub-realistic military shooter. You understand the difference, right?
Especially with that October 28th update potentially being massive if, in fact, that Battle Royale mode is coming right away alongside launch. But as of right now, that is everything we know about Season 1. As we get more details, more announcements, potentially even new leaks and rumors on what's to come here as well, I'll be covering all that alongside everything else going on in Battlefield. So be sure to hit that subscribe button to stay up to date. And if you guys enjoyed this video, hit that like button on your way out as well. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.
His link in the description down below. Some of that stuff sounds absolutely horrible. A 4v4 game mode, an 8v8 game mode, and that last one we don't know what the game mode is, but you get frozen on it. It's a mechanic where you get frozen. What if the vehicles just get frozen during the freeze? Okay. Again, Jones, kind of dumb in a game where the whole point of people like playing is because of the large-scale battle. So, okay, I'm in a helicopter. Now I'm flying the helicopter, but now the helicopter freezes and falls and blows up. Fantastic. Thank God it's a limited time event because people will be like, why can't I just fly the helicopter normal? Right? Why can't I just fly the copter normal? Why am I being hindered by we're all freezing or whatever it is? Now, if a blizzard comes in, low sight, so obviously you can't fly, that's a different story. If you do a fundamental thing where it changes, sort of like the sandstorm, where if you're sniping, the sandstorm comes in Battlefield 1, obviously you can't snipe anymore. So you have to change either your loadout or you change your play style because you can't shoot far away anymore. Then you got to wait for the sandstorm to dissipate. Then you can start fighting again, right? But when you force people to all of a sudden be like, sorry, okay, you're frozen, you can't do shit, that's completely different. But again, we don't know what that is yet. So I'm going to hold my judgment off to it. Maybe it is a snowstorm that comes in, it's frozen, so you can't actually see, and it changes the thing. Sure. They're testing out what people like, so they can also pick a direction, maybe. Or not ever pick a direction. Just keep coming back, so it's fresh, it's new, it's hip. Roic says maybe it just you get frozen in plays, but you can also still aim and shoot or whatnot. But you have to make sure you can cover when it happens. I still think that's a dumb mechanic, especially in a game like that. You want to put it in a sci-fi game, you want to put it in something else that's not realistic, cool. Is Mr. Freeze showing up and technically going to be in Batman universe? Yeah. Freeze. Yeah, Arnold shows up. It's so ridiculous. All right, we got a couple of articles here for Arc Raiders. Yeah, Battlefield sounds so unappealing right now. It just sounds so unappealing. The amount of... Here's what I don't like about the time events either. If the time events are broke, they're never going to fix them. Right? They're never going to fix it because they're only in the game for like 3-4 weeks. The only way they'll fix it if it's on a rotating and it comes back in. So let's say the 4v4 game mode, which is new, it stays in. But let's say it was just a timed event. It comes in, it's fucked up, they leaves, and then the next time, 6 months from now, when it comes back in, they fix it. Maybe. Okay? But if it's just a one-time event, like this Frozen thing, you probably won't see that event happen again, the limited time event, until next year when Christmas time comes around, right? And if it's broke, maybe they fix it for next year, but otherwise they don't care. They're just like, yeah, that's what it is. Silver says, thanks. I hate it. House says a snowstorm map sounds cool, but fuck the freeze. Like I said, if it's something that they say it freezes and all of a sudden a snowstorm comes in, Levolution, evolving weather, cool. But that also goes back to if they're doing a limited time event and it does do a snowstorm, House, but they don't have anything else of weather accurate stuff that was in the game before that they've taken out of the game, and yet they put it in a limited time event, that's also worrying to me. That the only reason they're putting weather events in is that because of it's a limited time event, they won't put it in the main game. Orlick says, "Oh, I agree." Someone was like, "People don't like to stand still." Someone said, "Well, hold my beer. I have an idea." Yeah. All right, Wenzo. House says maybe there'll be ice on the ground and you can slide super far. Sounds fantastic. like I said, I'm waiting on this game to see what happens after the Battle Royale comes out and everything else comes out. And it looks like I'll be waiting even longer now. I will try the Battle Royale. I will try the Gauntlet mode when it comes out because it is free to play. We'll give it a shot to see the good, the bad about it. And maybe it's a fantastic Battle Royale, but it's still not going to be a great Battlefield. Aku says, all I want is the icicle so that I can steal your tags and V card. Okay. All right, let's go to the next round of news stories, which are all Arc Raiders. If you guys like what I do, we do this Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning until noon Eastern. If you like it, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. Sorry, I have a hangnail. I got to reach for my nail clipper. All right. So Arc Raiders designer says Marathon's reception was a great A/B test. They made a decision that we didn't like the vice versa, and we could compare the contrast and how of those things looked and shook out. Okay, so apparently it looks like they learned from what Marathon was doing, and they could not do the same mistakes as them because they were doing the same things. So it says both extraction shooters are hotly anticipated and gathered crucial feedback before launch. Okay, it says it might feel like there's also a shed load of extraction shooters lately, but also the genre was that supposed to say shitload? Genre still seems a crackle untapped potential. Two heavy hitters: the reboot of Bungie's venerable shooter Marathon and the Embark fresh up comer Arc Raiders, and nearly here, and both have a chance to gear up with the playtest. Speaking with PC Gamer U.S. Editor-in-Chief Tyler Wilde, Arc Raiders design director Virgil Watkins said that they also shared timing made for the furious opportunity. It says, okay, quote, it was very coincidental. It was very coincidental that they've also had their test around the same time we did. To my knowledge, I don't think any of these knew that was going to happen. Watkins said, which is part of Arc Raiders, it was a very great A/B test for us because obviously they made decisions that we didn't and vice versa. So we could kind of compare the contrast, how some of those things shook out. Okay, of course, Arc Raiders and Marathon are different games, but it's hard to not compare the two. Timing aside, when PC Gamer staff writer Morgan Park played both back-to-back earlier this year, he noticed that both studios needed to extraction shooters to be a hit, adding it was skeptical there's enough interest in the inherited uncasual genre to support them both. I think it's more of a bigger deal for Marathon / Bungie / Sony than it is for Embark, personally. Okay, because Embark's not as big as a Bungie, as a Sony, and if it doesn't work out for them, they still have the finals that are working out well for them. They have other games in the that they're working on behind the scenes. But if Arc Raiders doesn't, it does great. I'm sorry, it does good, but doesn't do great. Okay, where Marathon, if it does good, it's a failure basically for Sony. Okay, it needs to do great. So for Watkins, and a chance to see how players reacted to the two games. Divergent design. It's quite interesting to follow these players thought about the certain things and what they worked on in the context and didn't what they may have worked on in ours. Okay. So it says that it hasn't been a holding magnifying glass up to the game. After all, Marathon's tests have been limited access, but it's only rooted in the game's success on saying that they found the art style very, avocative? I'm personally curious to see what it ends up to be, and I hope it sees more in the future. So they like their art style. I don't like, but again, this is a personal preference. This doesn't mean the game sucks because of the art style. I don't really like the art style of Marathon. Okay, just not if I don't like an extraction game. I just don't like the art style of Marathon myself. I like what they've done with Arc Raiders, but we'll see. We'll see what happens when it comes out because we know about the art, as they call them, Art Raiders. For Marathon, they stole artwork, and they're going to go back and change a bunch of stuff, take all the other stuff out, work on, change some things. Maybe Marathon gets changed, where maybe they make it more like Arc Raiders to compete, but it's a first-person type of stuff instead of the third-person. Maybe they change it like Arc Raiders changed, where it was a PvE game, and then they changed it to PvP, PvPvE. Maybe Marathon looks back and says, oh, maybe we need to change something, make it a little bit more fun, right? Who knows, right? Competition breeds greatness, and we'll see which one comes out and survive. I personally think Marathon is going to bomb when it comes out. Okay, I think a lot of people are on that same platitude as me, but we'll see what happens when it does come out later in 2026. All right, so let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Do you think, obviously, it worked out for, we do an A/B test for thumbnails on this channel. Like, you can put a couple different thumbnails and see which one works best. It gives you the metric of which one works. They saw what was happening with Marathon, and they're like, hey, they're doing this. We were going to do this, but let's not do that. And then they didn't do it, and it worked out better for them. So it is interesting to launch around the same time to see what your competitor's doing and not make the same mistakes as them. So we'll see which one comes out victorious between these two. Will it be Marathon that already has an established fan base, right, from an old franchise coming back, which looks nothing like the Marathon of the old? Will they have the Destiny guys that love Destiny 1 and 2 come back to this game, even though what Destiny is and what this is are two completely different games? Will the people switch over from from Destiny over to Marathon? Or do they just leave it as is and wait for Destiny 3 to come out? This should be interesting to see. Or for Arc Raiders, does it become a better than Marathon, where people don't really like third-person shooters? A lot of people don't like it because it's in third person. A lot of people don't like it because there's PvE in it. Okay? Let me know in the comment section down below. These are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section or the live chat. Please make sure you share, like, subscribe. And if you want to see some other videos, check it out on our channel. Thanks for watching. What's going on, Water Bear? Hey, what's good, fellow gamers? Arc Raiders out yet? Nope. Not yet. Feels good, man. Says, I find it was more interactive with the Marathon environment, even though it's 10 times smaller than Arc Raiders. Oh, is it? The maps are not as big, Phil? If the art style doesn't grab your attention at first, you're not really going to pay attention. Marathon looks like a big blob of neon paint. That's not easy on the eyes at all. Ray says, AI will save gaming for 10 years and destroy it for the next 10. I thought it was pretty interesting. I watched the video. We're not going to watch it here, but I watched the video behind the scenes of Arc Raiders about the way they made the AI. And the AI, this is actually pretty crazy. I talked about this a little bit yesterday when we were playing with Mr. Luke in the very beginning. So they did like a test on the walker, like the spider walker, where they did 64,000 or 64 million, 64,000. I think it was 64,000 times, right? And so let's say attempt number one, it was like it was working by itself. They coded it so it's like, okay, there's something in front of me. I'm walking, I'm climbing up the mountain, whatever. And it would fail over and over and over. 64,000 times it failed. But every time it failed, it learned. Okay? Just like we do as humans. Okay? So the AI in Arc Raiders, so let's say a boulder fell down the mountain and hit it. Okay, the next time a boulder comes down, it might hit it, but it might try to move its paw or claw or whatever out of the way. Okay, and then the third time a boulder comes down the actual mountain, it might move completely out of the way because it notices and it knows that that boulder last time it fell, it hit me, it damaged me, so it learns, right? Which is pretty crazy. So thinking of this, okay. The people that play the play test, okay, the people that play the play test of the last Arc Raiders game said that the AI was easier. It felt easier. And it makes me wonder if they've taken that information from the tech tests and kept learning the AI. So now when it plays in the next game, it got more evolved, okay? Meaning that, for instance, during the play test, when I first started shooting at the wasp or the hornet, it would just fly up in the air and try to shoot me through the doorway. But then it got smart and then started going in front of the doorway, right? And it would fly in front of the doorway. And then it got curious and then it came in the doorway. Okay? So I don't know, based on what I saw, if it was trained to do what it did or if it evolved to do what it did. Because based on the knowledge of what they were showing about with the Spider Walker, it makes you wonder if, because even when you break one of the blades, it acts differently every single time. You could bust a blade and it starts to, and then it fixes itself, right? It balances itself like a gyroscope would, okay? When it has all the things going on. And then you shoot the next one and it acts completely different and it adjusts. So think about this now 6 months from now. If all the Ark or all the Raiders are fighting these Ark and the Ark are learning every time we kill them, then it would be harder to kill them as we go further because they would get smarter, which is pretty crazy to think about if they're actually like learning this way. Because let's say the first map, all of a sudden the Arks come into the door, but then they learn that when they come through the door, we're attacking them. So now they don't attack coming through the door because they know if they go in the door, the percentage-wise, they're going to get attacked, and we jump on top of them and start hitting with the hammer. They learn and adapt to that, and they now don't do that. It'd be very interesting. Or maybe they add a defense mechanism to it. Now, obviously, this is coded, but I'm just saying stuff like there are bigger robots, bigger Arks that electrocute you, electrify you and stuff. Now, the Wasps and the Hornets do not. But what about if they evolve? And they do. On the harder maps, all of a sudden, if you try to jump on top of it, it shocks you and you fall off type of stuff, right? That would be, it'd be pretty insane. And also, it'll be very hard to kill them. And then you would have to work together, which then breaks down the entire game. Because if they start getting harder to kill, then you have to work with your fellow humans in the game. Even though you're enemies or you're trying to steal things from each other, you have to work together, and it forces you to work against the Ark. Just my thoughts, though. Let's see. Rogue says Marathon needs to do early access to get players' input, and they clearly don't have the idea what to do with it. Same thing with Destiny. They didn't know what to do with Destiny. Aku says, I don't see Marathon getting traction. I do see appeal for the old guard of the Destiny guys. Don't play a lot of extractions. Plus, the game is going to be full of cheating. I think a lot of games are going to be full of cheating. They have to figure a way. I think there's going to be a lot of cheaters in Ark Raiders as well, so they're going to have to figure a way to stop the cheating. Feels Good says, I think Marathon added solo queue to the next playtest, so I'm interested to try that out. Hal says, I have to see what did Marathon before to make the determination about it. The art scandal won't matter if the game comes out and it's actually good. I don't give a shit. I'll let the text and the symbols. Luke says, remember when Rainbow Six brought out the extraction shooter and that failed? Yeah, a lot of people tried it. Elnini says, I feel like both games will fail. I think this tech test that just happened says otherwise about Ark Raiders. You got to remember, Ark Raiders doesn't cost as much as Marathon and what Bungie's doing. Right? I mean, they're up there, but I don't think it cost $150 million. I don't think it cost $200 million. I think their budget for Ark Raiders is much smaller. Feels Good says Ark Raiders will sell well. I just don't think it'll last that long. I still can't find any info on the end game. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what end game is. I mean, it's not a looter, right? It's an extraction. If it was a PvE looter, then you would need to know what Diablo's end game was or what Destiny's end game was. This is like an evolving thing. And we'll go to the next thing because they talk about a 10-year plan here. So that's a perfect segue. Right? Ark Raiders seen as a 10-year game by Embark explained why there's no roadmap. Okay. Well, Ark Raiders is angled as an online live service game, and one thing we haven't seen or heard about is the game's roadmap, which is strange to see given we're about a week away from release. No, I don't think it's weird. I don't think you should share a roadmap because a roadmap is just what's behind the scenes. Okay, so apparently Embark Studios doesn't want to give out any of their reasons for it, and this is what makes sense. Okay, this is what the studio is looking at the game in a 10-year title, which is no easy feat to pull off, though certainly doable by today's standards. Okay, it says Ark Raiders roadmap is something that developers aren't keen on doing right now. I don't think they should ever do it. Okay, it says a Twitch stream at TwitchCon, the Ark Raiders design director Watkins was asked about the game's future post-launch, and there's also a game's roadmap. Watkins answered was telling how the studio wants to shape the game, and it's based on what the community wants, Watkins shared. I think internally, For a very long time, we referred to this Arc Raiders as a 10-year game. So that's the ambitious where we're aiming for, and kind of dictates the type of quality or content that we want to put out. Okay, adding to that, Watkins continued, he says, quote, "We are not at this stage, okay? Going to discuss roadmap details and stuff can quickly spiral into promises that can go unfulfilled and things change 100%. But of course, adding things over time like new maps or extending quest lines or introducing new enemies, new weapons, and things like that, okay? I also think that if you give a roadmap before the game comes out, which we talked about in the very beginning, I think is stupid. Okay? Don't tell me what you're selling me in the future. Sell me the game that you're selling me. Make a game, sell a game. And then down the road, once the game is established and people love it, they play it, they put it down, then, and only then, do you look at it and go, hey, I got good news for you guys. We got a new season coming up. And you give us information like a week or two ahead of time, not 6 months ahead of time. Okay? Look what happens when Todd Howard says, we have 2 expansions, 1 a year. And then we don't have the second expansion for Starfield, right? Look at what happens with Space Marines, where they tell you last year when the game came out, they're like, oh yeah, we have a Horde mode, but it comes out 9-10 months from now, right? It's like they're selling you on a hope, not what the game is. Sell me the game. Sell me what this game is, not what it's going to be, right? Look at what No Man's Sky is doing now. They don't tell you a roadmap. They don't tell you shit about their next expansion that they're working on. He tweets out 2 days before, puts a smiley face in Twitter, and then all of a sudden, boom, it drops, and you're like, holy Christ, right? No roadmap. They don't tell you that we have 23 things planned in ahead of time, and when it comes out, they're like, he didn't come out. He stays quiet, tweets about it, releases the next 2 days, and then that's it. Everyone talks about it. That's the way to do it. Okay, it says we have some stuff lined up post-launch and for a little bit after, and then it's also based on what we've seen out of launch and going thereafter to start dropping the content that we need to, the developer concluded. While there's no roadmap, I fully expect Embark to discuss the game's post-release plans in more detail when the game launches or even near to release. At the very least, players can expect new maps, weapons, and more, which is par for the course for most live service offerings. Arc Raiders will be released on October 31st on PlayStation 5. I thought it was the 30th. Did they move it back one day? I thought it was the 30th, not the 31st. Hold on a second. Nope, October 30th. So I don't know if this article says the wrong information. But yeah, you know where we stand, at least me and Sarge, right? We don't care about roadmaps. I don't care what you're selling me after the fact before the game comes out. I want to know what the game has. I'll buy the game for what the game is. And then down the road, if you have cool maps or expansions, maybe I'll buy it, maybe I won't. But don't start selling me a roadmap before the game comes out. And don't start selling me a roadmap 3 days after the game comes out either. Okay, let me play the game, not the hopes of what the game could be. Remember, Battlefield 6, they have dragging in there now to help your teammates. That was supposed to be in Battlefield 5. It was supposed to come in an update after launch. First, it was supposed to be at launch. Then it was supposed to be after launch. Then it was supposed to be after launch later. And then they didn't even put it in the game. And then it was supposed to come in Battlefield 2042. So we waited 7 years for a drag mechanic that was promised 7 years ago. Or you could have never mentioned it until it was done, and then no one would bring it up. Because now you put it in the game, and it's really a really good mechanic in the game now. But that was 7 years ago when they promised it was supposed to come in the game. All right, what do we got here? We got Arc Raiders. Real fast. Arc Raiders just became Steam's most popular extraction shooter, and it's not even close. Okay, so Arc Raiders players enjoying the Server Slam test is also peak, pouring into the game's Explore Everything, and has offered 2 weeks before the official hits the market, and the last opportunity to play the game in the free before the launch is on October 30th, and it's also been met with serious positive reception. The hype driving Arc Raiders has proven in such a success. The game has almost hit a peak of 200,000 concurrent users. It was like 180 something. That's the phenomenal number that makes Arc Raiders the most popular extraction shooter on the platform. Now, Arc Raiders could become the top-rated extraction title. Arc Raiders has been pieced together by Embark Studios, the Finals fame. It's also a third-party extraction shooter, which throws players into a world of devastation. We don't need to read that. The earliest beta test at Arc Raiders, also rampant success of Embark Studios, also has rolled out on ServerSlam to test out the game's infrastructure before the launch of the results and have been dramatically positive. Okay. On Steam, the game hit an all-time peak of 189,668 users as a ServerSlam Unravel effortlessly topping every other extraction shooter ever released on Steam. Okay. So to put that in perspective, here are some of the top numbers. Arena Breakout Infinity, 66,000. The Cycle Frontier, 40,000. Gray Zone Warfare, 72,000. Dark and Darker, 57,000. And Escape from Duck Off, which is out now, which is 61,000. Okay. Escape from Tarkov, arguably the most popular extraction shooter in the world, is set to release on Steam on November 15th. So it'll be interesting to see if that can top Arc Raiders. We also know more than 500,000 people have Escaped from Tarkov on their wish list. But that only puts the game in 67th place on Steam's wish list, actively tracking. Arc Raiders is 4th place. Think about that for a second. Okay. Tarkov, which is one of the most well-known games, that and Hunt Showdown. Okay. Tarkov on the wish list is at 67th place on Steam, and Arc Raiders at 4th. That's crazy. Okay. That's crazy. So it's leaps and bounds ahead of everything. All right. We're going to watch this video. It's called Devs Speak Out of Arc Raiders Criticism. This is also being covered by Dry Bear Gamers. He's got 208,000 subscribers. You can go link in his description down below. Go check out his channel. Hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button. Okay, here we go. This is a 38-minute video. We'll keep it at... Actually, we'll go to 1.25. That'll lighten up just a little bit. Okay, here we go.
Hey, it's Dry Bear. And the Arc Raiders server slam is concluded, and there's a lot of people, I'm sure, that are experiencing Arc Raiders withdrawal because they can't play it, and now we're on that final march to October 30th for the full release of the game. So just a little bit to go, just under 10 days now for you to play the full version of the game. So what I wanted to focus on today was kind of, summarizing and congealing all the developer responses we've seen on the game overall, some decisions they've made. They've done some interviews over the last week or so in various locations. So I want to give some highlights to what the developers are talking about, because I know there's a lot of people right now that are wondering, okay, I don't like this game. Can you change it? There are people that want more.
Nothing's going to change here. If you're a person that's like, man, I wish I had first person, they should change it to first person. That's not happening. That's not happening. Not because they don't want to do it. It's because it's 2 weeks before launch, and they're not going to change. There's a lot of stuff to code to change it from third person to first person.
Or PvE or a PvE only mode. There are people that want more PvP or a PvP only mode. There's people asking about first.
I do find it funny that the people that are PvP players don't want the bots in the game, like literally the bots, not bots like fake players, like the actual Arc. Okay, they're like, we don't want that. We just want PvP. But they're the equalizer. They're the equalizer. They give the people that are not PvPers a chance. If it's a slight chance, they still give them an equalizer.
Person versus third person. And also there are people that just like the game exactly as it is, and they want the developers to change nothing. Don't cave to the feedback. Do what you've been doing.
Look, is it Tarkov or Hunt Showdown that added a PvE mode? I don't play the extraction. I do know one of them added a PvE mode. Okay. They added it because they're trying to get it out to more people, right? So I understand that people don't want... Now, remember, this game was supposed to be PvE. Then they said it was boring, we read yesterday, and they changed it to PvE, PvPvE. Okay, so Tarkov has it, yeah. Now, obviously, that would bring in more people to the game. And they're like, oh, well, that would ruin it. But yeah, but think about it. The business is trying to make money. And PvPers that want to play PvP, we're going to buy the game. But the people that don't want to play PvP are also going to buy the game now because they have a PvE mode in there for them. Those people were never going to get in the pool with the people that wanted PvP. So it's not ruining the game, right? It's not ruining the game. It's not splitting the player base. It's adding a player base, because if they split the player base, that would be one thing. But the people that want PvP want to play PvP unless they didn't want to play PvP, and then they would go play PvE. Okay? So if they add a PvE mode in this, they can make it where you get less XP, you find less stuff. But if the person wants to play PvE, let them play PvE. Look at Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves said, hey, look, we understand we're not going to ever change the game where we stop PvP from happening. But we do have a mode, Safer Seas, which is for people that are under level 40 that would like to play PvE. Okay, so maybe in Arc Raiders, they add a PvE mode, and maybe you can only get to level like 30. But if you want to go above 30, you would have to jump into the PvP maps, right? Which at that time would give you enough time to understand what the weapons are, to understand what the time of stuff is. Now, as a player, they're not changing your gameplay, but they're helping other people get into the game to then maybe get into the rest of the game. Again, Fortnite was a PvE game. That's what it was. It was a PvE game. It bombed because it was a tower defense that nobody wanted. They shifted to Battle Royale. It went from PvE straight up PvP, okay? And then since that time, they've added PvE modes back into the game. If you want to play Lego, if you want to do the band thing, if you want to play Rocket, right? Whatever, right? They can just play against bots. You can play against whatever it is. It's more options for people to play the game, which is good for the business because they're making money from all sorts of people now. They're not changing the game. They're just adding a mode for people. Now you can go, well, 30, what about Battlefield? Battlefield's identity has been there for 23 years. Now, I get it. They want to put the Battle Royale in there, which is counterproductive to what Battlefield is, okay? But they are trying to bring as many people in as possible, and I get that. It's just going to ruin the franchise. There is no franchise here. Arc Raiders is a brand new game, and they can set the tone right from the start.
We love it. So let me know where your head is down below on all of these topics and what you think about the game in general. If you're hoping for it to change or you're hoping for it to stay the same, let's dive into the developer responses. The first topic is around PvE versus PvP. This is a big discussion point on the game in general. Again, there are people that want it to be more like a Darktide, Vermintide, Helldivers 2, where it's mostly about fighting enemies and getting loot. That formula has been proven to work, and some people just want it. They don't want to deal with the things that come with PvP, griefers, campers, you know, people on voice chat, whatever else. Like, they want to have a game that's more focused on PvE, and the people that want PvP to be amplified as well. So where do the developers...
Hater says, remember Dune Awakening? Yeah, Dune Awakening was PvP, and then they're like, you know what? A lot of people are not playing the PvP, so let's expand the PvE where there's still PvP, but there's more people that can play the end game in PvE, right? They gave more options. Now, a lot of people are like, well, the game's dead, but the company made more money because more people bought the game.
Sit on this concept. So we're going to be referencing this interview as one of the interviews we talk about. This just happened over the weekend at TwitchCon in San Diego. I'm not going to focus on like people's names because I think that creates witch hunts and whatever else. Not like you can't figure out who these people are, but I will give you their titles so you can understand where these responses are coming from. So far left of the casting couch, I shouldn't say that. Far left of the interview couch over here is design director. Anyone at a director level position in a game production environment is going to be focused on direction, which means high level decisions. Should we be doing this? Should we not be doing this? And ensuring that everything aligns with the direction they're making. Director level positions vary widely depending on what company we're talking about. Some larger companies have directors that only make those directional decisions and oftentimes get involved in staffing and making sure that they're hitting the bottom line and that sort of thing. There's also, I've worked with directors that are like hands-on. They will assign themselves tasks daily. They're in the engine daily and they're working, boots on the ground, that sort of thing. But a design...
I don't know this guy, if he, Dry Bear Gamers, if he is a game developer at one point. It sounds like he was.
Director is someone who generally oversees game design, system design, level design, things like that, and they're making sure that the design of the game is cohesive and fits what they're looking for. In the center of it, we have a technical designer. Anytime you see technical in front of another position, that usually means that they have a technical background, but they fall in the camp of the second word. So a tech artist is an artist that usually has a good background in technology. Oftentimes, tech artists are people that work with 3D modelers, concept artists, riggers, animators, and they help those people get their creations into game by using their technological, background. In this case of a technical designer, it usually means someone that is in the design department but has a background in programming, coding, or engine work, which means that they have a design background, but they are very well versed in implementing the things that are being designed and created. And far side of the couch, you have an art director. So again, similar to design director, focused on making sure that the art style fits, shapes, silhouettes, color, textures, the environment, lighting, things like that. They make sure that everything's on pace for that same kind of reason. So back to the question, PvE versus PvP or a blend in between, what's the goal?
So I think it's actually really fun with PvPvE. I know a lot of people who knew the game from before knew that we were previously a PvE game. And when we made the move to PvPvE, we actually did quite an elaborate and meaningful decision of keeping the PvE as much as it were before. So we really tried.
So they kept exactly what the game was. Okay. They kept the PvE as it was in the actual game. They didn't change that, but they added the PvP aspect into the game.
to keep the enemies quite threatening and keep the behaviors quite complex. So we want to balance it in a way where you know that you both have to keep your eye out for players, but also for the AI. But then obviously a lot of extraction shooters actually try to bring the PvE a little bit back because that can take away from PvP. I know a lot of competitive.
See, I think it's perfect. I think it's perfect the way they have it. Again, you can use it. The more you play the game, the more strategic it has. Now, obviously, people are going to have higher weapons, more bullets, more stuff that they bring in, but they have less stuff they can carry, whatever it is, right? But the arc is the equalizer, okay? Because if I'm a person that has very little skill and all of a sudden I'm being attacked, I can run towards a group of arc to attack me, but at the same time also attack them. Okay, I can use them to the advantage where all of a sudden I shoot at them, bring them over to me, and then all of a sudden they're attacking them. And while they're attacking them, I'm running and escaping to live another day, right? That's an awesome balance where it's an equalizer where maybe I'm running and all of a sudden I see an arc in the distance and all of a sudden I see them fighting and I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to engage with that. I'm going to take the long way around. While they're being distracted, I'm going to go loot this thing, and then I'm going to make my way out. Or I'm going to make my way out now, whatever it is. I got the one piece I needed. I don't need to fill up my whole backpack. Like, each adventure is perfect, in my opinion. Again, after playing it this weekend, I fell in love with the game because I'm not a big PvP guy, an extraction guy. But this just felt so good because there is that PvE in the game.
Players can get a little bit sad if they're third-partied by a Rocketeer, which makes sense, but it is also part of what we have decided to do. We want the game to really feel like you are there and you're...
And also what she said, right? And as Crowded is saying right here, he says, sounds like the original game wasn't very good, so they pivoted. Correct. But what I said earlier about the PvE, it sounds like if they really wanted to make a PvE mode, they can because they didn't change anything. They added the PvP. So they're not taking anything away. Who said earlier? I think it was House. Okay, House said that there's a lot of resources I'd rather than put towards a better game content and such. It sounds like they left the PvE aspect exactly the same. So it wouldn't be taking resources away. It would just be like, hey, yeah, we have a PvE mode. And it's the same. It's the same as the game right now, only there's PvP. I don't know. It sounds pretty interesting that they didn't remove it. They didn't change anything. They just added PvP into that section.
You're fighting other raiders, but the main threat is Arc, and we want to keep it that way.
Having a strong PvE element is what gives context to the PvP. Otherwise, you just sort of end up with a deathmatch with a little bit of extra stuff happening on the side. So, I mean, we went through a lot of iterations with the PvE, as Nora mentioned, and we went up and down with difficulty and added and removed capabilities. So it really only starts to shine.
I'm gonna rewind because he's a little. Can I make him louder? Hold on one second. Let me see if I can make him louder because he's a little soft. No, that's as loud. That's as loud as it gets. Yeah, it's maxed out. Yeah, that's as loud as it gets. All right, we're just gonna have to bear down and see if we can
having a strong PvE
partied by a Rocketeer, which makes sense, but it is also part of what we have decided to do. We want the game to really feel like you are there and you're fighting other raiders, but the main threat is Arc, and we want to keep it that way.
Having a strong PvE element is what gives context to the PvP. Otherwise, you just sort of end up with a deathmatch with a little bit of
it's a balance between the PvP and the PvE. So they have to keep that balance, and the actual arc keeps that balance. The balance is if you put a scale, they're the pillar. The arc is the pillar, and the scales are the PvE and the PvP.
Extra stuff happening on the side. So, I mean, we went through a lot of iterations with the PvE, as Nora mentioned, and we went up and down with difficulty and added and removed capabilities. So it really only starts to shine when the world and the setting and the context you're in the match are truly threatening and truly dangerous to you. Because if you can just ignore the circumstances you're in and only focus on fighting other players, then that's all it kind of devolves into. So it's a very conscious effort with the mechanics we've added, the way enemies are designed, the way they're placed in the levels, and the other activities and things that happen throughout the round.
Why do you think Arc are placed around the actual extraction points? One, is to stop you from just leaving super easy. 2, if you notify them first, okay, then they'll be hovering around looking for you as you're trying to escape, but also stopping other people from engaging with you.
Give texture to the PvP and make the player have to make choices and considerations while they engage in it. So I think that's kind of core to the experience, and we really just try to pursue that as much as possible.
So straight from the horse's mouth, their goal is not to be PvE only or PvP only. And while a lot of people have given speculations on what they want the game to be, can they just add a PvE only mode for the people that like that?
I think they will. I do. I think they will. I think the numbers will drop a little bit after people play other games and whatnot. And then down the road, there will be a PvE, because PvP guys are going to leave. The PvP guys will leave to go play another PvP game. The PvEers, they will play that game until they're dead. If there's loot and stuff that they can get, they will play that game. Look at Warframe. Look at Destiny. Look at Division. Okay? They will play that game till the end of time. If you give them loot, they will go for it. PvPers get bored. Okay, they'll get bored because they'll be like, these guys are not a challenge anymore. All the people that were challenged, they left the game to go play a different game. They will get bored and move on, and when new content comes in, they'll come back. But the longevity of the game, I'm telling you, they're going to add some PvE aspect of this.
It sounds like what they're trying to do is they want to hit the center of that Venn diagram. They want equal in presence from the Arc robots and players, creating a dynamic, stressful environment where both are always in your face and neither one gets brushed off. And this actually does happen a lot.
This is why they don't have a roadmap. This is why they're not admitting to a roadmap. This is exactly why they said we're going to wait and see what happens, and then we'll decide and pivot based on what's happening with the community.
A lot in games that are PvE VP is oftentimes one of those things get ignored. Either there aren't enough players, and so you don't see players enough for it to feel like it's a big part of it, or there aren't, like the robots or the AI enemies just aren't.
They're not catering to everyone. They have a vision. They're putting the vision out. I'm saying that their vision is their vision, okay? Fortnite's vision was a survival tower defense, but they pivoted to PvP. And then they pivoted to make more of what the community wanted, which is why you have Scooby-Doo and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and X-Men and Star Wars and all this stuff, right? If this game is popular and then all of a sudden starts to die, they're like, well, what's happening? Well, they have the stats. They know. So if PvP all of a sudden is down and more people like Fallout 76, that was supposed to be PvP. But Fallout 76 players are like, yeah, no, we're not going to fight. So Bethesda had to pivot. They had to pivot to what the community was playing, what they wanted. There's still PvP inside Fallout 76, just nobody does it.
A big presence. They're kind of negligible. You can ignore them or you can destroy them very easily. It's not a big part of it. They actually want to hit that middle road right in the center. And one of the challenges with doing the center of the Venn diagram approach is you could end up creating something very special and unique, but you also run the risk of alienating each circle, right? Then if it's
Sure.
not tuned right, then the PvEers are upset and hate it.
You got to call audibles as you play. If more PvP come in, you add a little bit more PvP stuff, right? Encounters. If there's more PvE guys, and there's less PvP guys, you gotta lean towards it.
And if it's not tuned right, the PvPers are upset and hate it, and you end up pissing off both groups. So that's definitely a big part of it. Which kind of begs a follow-up question, right? If they are saying that they want PvE and PvP to be equal parts, how does that play into the overall game experience and the locations you go?
It changes. It changes at all the time based on, are there arcs in that section? Are there too many arcs? Are there too few arcs? If there's too few arcs, there'll be more PvP in that area, in the tower. Lots of stuff happening in the tower right now, okay? So maybe during the full launch, they put more bots inside. Maybe they add a different type of bot that patrols inside, not just the balls that are real super easy to kill, the little spider creatures. Maybe they put something in there, because inside the building, there's turrets, there's the balls, there's the little spider creatures, which are nothing, right? But now if you put a roaming sentry bot inside the actual thing, do you know what I mean?
Go to, right? Because obviously there are some places where it's harder for Arc robots to reach, and there's some places where it's harder for players to reach, and there's going to be habits and persistent incentives for players to go one place versus another. So how do they feel about, are they trying to create a space where sometimes you'll go inside a building and it's all players, and sometimes you'll go into a facility and it's all robots? Is that the end goal, and is that something that they're striving for?
That's what it seems like. It seems like the high areas. So outside the high areas is the drones, is the Arc. Inside, there's Arc, but very easy. that's the high-end PvP moments. So if you can get the stuff and then get out, that's where it's a mix.
Or like, what's the target they're aiming at that they want to, work towards getting
Thanks,
all
Mo.
the experiences across the game?
I figured he is a former
Do they want
dev.
variety, or are they doubling down this Venn diagram idea?
As 2 of the maps, at the very least, were basically created when we were still a PvE game. They kind of set a good tone of us always wanting to have PvE in spaces. And that works really well, because then you do feel that there are really no areas where you're safe. But now that we have also introduced PvP into the mix, it is a really interesting kind of situation where you have to balance the, players wanting to maybe run in and hide from a Rocketeer, but then you're around the corner and there's another player there. But that also actually pushed us to, again, want to make sure that we always have threat from the AI inside as well. Like, if you're rounding a corner, there could be a player there, but there could also be an enemy that will jump at you and kill you, because we want to make sure that tension should be sort of even. So if there's a space that is more tense for PvP, it should also be able to be tense for PvP.
That's exactly what I just said. That's exactly right. Right? So they can change it and adapt. And again, with their technology they have with the actual Arc, the way the NPCs learn, they can force their way into a situation.
And the same with, if you have a space that is more secure, it should be secure from both ends, so that you don't have, here's PvP only, here's PvE only.
Obviously, with lofty ideas like this, it's not always going to be, good coverage everywhere. There's definitely going to be some locations that are going to be one more than the other, but I think it is kind of helpful to understand where the developers' minds are at on what they're thinking, right? So they actually, and you can kind of see this.
True, Water. Yeah, Water says this game is because you can just camp certain spots for a long time waiting for players, and you have to be on your lookout for bots. A lot of people are complaining that there's campers waiting at the extraction, and I'm like, who's just running into an extraction not looking?
A little bit with the variety of enemies they
throw
have.
Smoke.
Right? When you go inside,
throw a grenade, throw something, do something, make a flare go up, pull people away from it.
Building, your likelihood of being completely attacked by a bastion or like a flying drone or something is much lower. But that's why they have the fireballs, the pops, the ticks, the turrets on the walls, things like that kind of bring into it. And some of the maps that aren't in the server slam that you'll see, there are areas where the medium to large size Arc robots can reach and will reach. And so again, if you're thinking about what are they planning to do for the game, their ultimate goal is that they do want Arc robots and players to be a constant threat everywhere that you go. So there's that topic, but there's another question I want to address, because I'm sure it's probably already come up in the comments. I can hear it in my brain. I can see the words being typed already. The question is, why even go PvP VE at all, right? If the game was PvE before, why would you bother switching? Like, why make that change? And some people have theorized that they did it for...
They said why. They said it was boring. They said it was boring. And I respect that. I wanted PvE only. I wanted the next Destiny, right? I wanted the next, the first Descendant, but they said it felt boring in their game. It felt boring, so they had to put PvP.
More money, or they did it because people that were doing the tech test before just really wanted it to be PvP or whatever else. The question is, right from the bird's mouth, or right from their mouth, what is it that they're doing? Why did they include PvP in the mix at all? This one comes from it was an in-person interview, but it was a journalist that just took notes and posted it online as well. So this is kind of the response here. This is from the EP, executive producer. EPs generally have not quite as wide as director level, but they can have a pretty wide set of responsibilities. Realistically, a lot of EPs are basically just general managers that are very hands-on. Again, it's kind of like just below VP level. Like the executive producers are the final boss of production. They're the project heads for the project overall. They usually will oversee more of a finance perspective and making sure things are aligned. But again, with all of these roles in game development, you can have EPs that are showing up to daily playtests every single day, talking to
That was nice. He looked. I didn't even see him up in that corner.
With all of these,
I did not see him up in that corner.
Development, you can have EPs that
he sees him, and I'm like, how did he see him? I didn't see him. I would have been dead.
That are showing up to daily playtests every single day, talking to departments, having meetings. And you can also have EPs that barely show up at all and are kind of just focused on the business aspect of it in general. But from this response here, the response here is, it took us a long time to understand what we were even trying to do with the game. However, after multiple tech tests, friends and family tests, alphas and things like that, the conclusion from the devs was there's moments of fun, but it doesn't consistently gel. And this is with the PvE only version. So they did multiple years of internal and some limited external testing with PvE only, and this was their conclusion. It goes on to say that we loved every aspect of what we were trying to design, but we came to the conclusion after quite a long time, guys, this game is not...
That's hard. That's hard. That's a hard pill to swallow. You're making a game, you're sitting there, and you're like, Yeah, it's great because you're eating your own, right? You're in your own bubble, and then you start looking at it, going, guys, the game looks great, sounds great, but it's just not fun. And they're like, all right, what do we do?
Fun. So quite literally, from the horse's mouth, they say that they made the change because the game with just PvE wasn't enough. And with the conversation we just had of them saying that they always wanted constant coverage of tension all over the place, it sounds like in keeping with that idea, they introduced another forcing function. They have the bots as a forcing function. It puts pressure on you. It threatens your life. It makes sure that you're having to use consumables like bandages and healing and shield.
Right. If you have 5 bandages on you, all of a sudden an arc attacks you, all of a sudden you have to heal up. Now you have 2. Now you're like, I used 10 of my 20 bullets on the arc. I can't afford to fight right now. So now I got to go scavenge stuff to find more bullets, or do I extract now? It changes on the whim. I love it.
And use ammo to destroy your enemies, but they felt like having just that one front of Arc robots wasn't sufficient. And you can say that, hey, it works for Helldivers 2, it works for Vermintide, it works for Darktide, it works for like Space Marine. You could name a whole bunch of PvE-only co-op games that work exceptionally well for this idea, but this wasn't like, hey, they're just trying to make another BR, or they're trying to make another extraction game. At least from what they've said publicly is that they felt that the game didn't feel very good being only PvE. Now, with, their experience with the finals and with Arc Raiders, it's very possible that we will get, maps and modes that are either more PvE than normal.
Like, look at this. Look at his character that he's playing right now. He's been in this whole area, right? His whole footage that he's showing us is just from this like one area. So for like 7 minutes, he's just in this corridor. Right? It's not a fast-paced game. You're taking your time looking around the corners doing stuff.
Or possibly even have limited modes that are PvE only. But in their mind, that the game didn't come together until they added players and enemy robots attacking you constantly at once that didn't feel like it was Arc Raiders until that point. But let me know where your head is at on that one. I know there's a lot of opinions on whether it should be one or the other, or whether the blend works well or not. Or, there's some people out there that just say, hey, I want this. Can you just give me a mode or a matchmaking queue that's only this so that I can enjoy it? Because
I think people will do that in single player solo runs. I think what's going to happen is you're going to divide the player base, because sure, are there going to be people in solo run that will kill people? Absolutely. But that number drops dramatically because the people that fight together will be more opted in to do PvP, where the people solo are trying to get shit done. If it's quest lines or find little things, get in, get out, you know what I mean? And I think more people will team up in solos. I think also if you're playing on console, I said this yesterday, if you shut off crossplay, the temperature drops much greater to the lower temperature, and more people on console will just play with console players, and they'll make their own thing. Gamers will find a way.
Like everything else about it, there's just one element, like I don't like fighting players, or I don't like fighting robots when I'm fighting players. Where does your head land on that? Next up is another hotly debated topic in the community right now, and there's good reasons for it, and that is the idea of the player camera. Currently, Arc Raiders is fixed as a TPS, that is a third-person shooter. It is in third person, and it is from behind your character. There's no way to swap camera. There are, game design-wise, reasons why you'd want to do first person versus third person, and currently there are pros and cons with that as well. In extraction type games, especially games like Hunt Showdown or Escape from Tarkov, the main reason why first person can work a lot is because it means that when you check corners, you have to do so with your face.
They would kill themselves, Jones, if they stopped you from solo queuing. Right? You understand what I'm saying? If I shut off crossplay and then I go into solo queue on console, okay? And let's say they're like, oh, well, we'll put you in solo, but if we can't put you in solo, we'll put you... There's going to be a lot less people playing duos and trios on console, okay? I'm telling you. Because there's going to be times of the day where people are all not together because they're at work or whatever else. There's going to be a lot of solo queues going in. You can't stop me from going in and going, oh, we can't let you in because you're not doing crossplay. They're going to have to throw me in a game. And they have to throw me in with console because I shut off crossplay. So I'm only going to go against PlayStation. I'm only going up against Xbox, and I have a lot more time in those solo queues than I would if I was in solo queue in crossplay.
right? You can't peek around corners without exposing some part of your body or most of your body because your camera is your face, right? So there's a big kind of piece of feedback right now for ARC Raiders, in that when you do third person at all, even if you do a swappable camera where you can go between first and third, like PUBG or things like that, being able to swap between them, even as long as third person exists for any reason, it gives people the ability to peek around corners without any risk, right? They can hide in a bush and they can look above the bush. They can hide behind a rock and they can peek around the rock. They can sit behind a wall and wait for somebody. And whether you like it or not, there's definitely pros for cosmetics. You can see your character. It gives you more incentive to decorate your character because you can see the backpack, you can see the skins, you can see all the other elements. There's definitely a gameplay portion of that is like, do we even want to have third person at all? Which is a great question, because realistically, even if you're the most charitable, fun-loving, humanity is great kind of person, third-person camera incentivizes things like camping, griefing, baiting, setting up traps. People go to the extraction point and they wait. You can go inside a building and just camp. This happens a lot in third-person battle royales and extraction games too. People just sit on the toilet and watch around the corner until someone shows up. There's a lot of downsides to that. So wrapping this all back together, what do the devs think about first-person, and is first-person coming to ARC Raiders or not? This is another in-person written interview with the design director. So again, person who focuses on choosing the direction of the gameplay elements in the game overall. In his own words, says that first-person view doesn't give us any benefit of any sort. Going on to say that I think so much of our immersion and world and the interactions that your character has with the things in the world, the enemies, the other players, is so amplified by the quality that's come from our animation team and our audio team and our environment team that it works together as this very nice package that you can really place your character in the world. So what he's saying here is part of the immersion and atmosphere comes from the third person camera. The fact that you can see your character, you can see them animating, and everything is viewed from a distance, right? Because there's obviously distance concerns when it comes to first person versus third person, being able to see from farther away and the requirement of scopes or, magnifying elements like binoculars and things like that.
And another good thing about this game is they don't keep track of your kills and deaths. There's no stats.
Say that's not to say that's not possible in first person, but third person did work so well for us that we never even really looked at first person. So not only is first person not on the immediate horizon for implementation, it never was and hasn't even crossed their minds. In their minds, this is a third person game and it's staying that way. And I know that there are hybrid models like Helldivers 2 and a few other games, but I think for us to try to do that, it would cause us to have to reevaluate so much of how our areas are built, the way they're laid out, because you get very specific sightlines once you go first person, which is true. Even saying that once you start being able to put your face right up against an asset, it kind of falls apart. Now, based on that response, I think it's reasonable to expect that there is no first person coming to ARC Raiders at all.
I think that's more of a better choice than not doing PvE. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you put first person, it changes the complete style of game. You put PvE in the game, it doesn't change it. It doesn't change it. It gets more people to play your game, and they'll enjoy it because they'll just be in their own little world doing their own thing. Right? Maybe you find less stuff, maybe you get less XP, whatever it is. If they do like a Sea of Thieves, Safer Seas type of thing, where you get less XP or you only can go up to a certain level, people would do it.
Right? Realistically, not only is it a system that you have to put into the game, but it has much bigger impact and reasons to be worried too, right? Because, when you go from 3P to 1P, whether people realize it or not, usually they're separate assets. Some games will chop off the arms of the 3P model and then put them in first person. You gotta have hands, you can hold the gun and things like that. But a lot of games end up creating separate assets. Like quite literally, they will have a third person model and then they'll create a separate asset of the arms that is meant to be used or viewed in first person. Same thing for the weapons viewed in first person. It also has implications for a field of view. Oftentimes, not only is there a third-person FOV, but there also is a first-person camera FOV that happens to be separate from the FOV that shows on the assets that are being held. Like the weapon FOV or the arms FOV could be separate from the environmental FOV or the camera FOV. There's a lot of work to be put in.
Right, that's why sometimes when you look down, you'll see the arms. You see your arms in the gun, but you look down, you don't see your feet. Right? That's what he's talking about right now. Like you have to attach the things.
Into doing a dual model of 1P or 3P, and honestly, even going from 3P to permanent 1P is a big undertaking. So based on what I've seen and what they've said, I would say that first person is not coming to ARC Raiders, at least in the near term, unless something major changes, but at least then you have your answer. Now, I want to put a caveat there is that really,
if this game's super successful, I'm talking like 2-3 years down the line, still has a player base and whatnot, maybe they go, you know what? We're putting a mode in that's first person mode. But I'm talking very popular, still relevant down the road, right?
Realistically, this is true in business in general, is that anytime, it's nice to be very like pie in the sky and stick to your guns on the way up, but that isn't always the case on the way down, right? So realistically, no matter what your ideals are or your values are for a project, if the project starts to fail horrendously, that's when you start considering scorched earth, right? So like if Arc Raiders launches and for whatever reason, the player count or retention is god awful, and after a couple months, the player count is so really down.
That would separate the player base more by putting a first-person camera and PvE. You know what I mean? Because the guys that want to play first person would only play first person. You would lose a lot more people playing in first person than you would if you made PvE mode.
Down far. Regardless, you would probably still consider changes that might mix the game up. One of the most famous, a very easy example that's in a similar setup like this is Fortnite. Fortnite launches a PvE base building game, flopped super hard, they pivoted to Battle Royale, and then everyone else knows the rest of that story, right? So when things fail, you reconsider your values, and I think that kind of just goes in hand with making games like this. So it's not to say that PvE is off the table or, first...
They have that in the game right now, Altern. If you're sniping or looking down the sights of stuff, it goes into first person, like binoculars are first person, sniper rifles first person.
Person is off the table. It's just they're not planning on it. It's not on their radar, so don't expect it anytime soon or maybe ever. Which can be easily reiterated by this quote from the design director talking about, hey, it's great to have ideals, and kind of the same perspective that I have here as well. Again, he's a design director. I held design director for a while as well. I've held that same position, so I actually really like a lot of his responses and the way his perspective is set up. I think he's got the right of it on most of these things.
So I think that's one thing that will become very important, is ensuring that we intelligently reuse the content we have in a way that doesn't necessarily feel like we just reheated something or painted it blue. And certainly the end game play has to evolve with the game as we go. And we even as early as a year ago began talking about what the next evolution was. So it's something that's on our radar for sure. So once the game's live, we see how players are engaging with the game loop we have, the game mode we have. I think it's only natural to look toward the future into how we evolve that experience, because I can't say for sure that the game will subsist forever on the format we have today. But I think if you've taken a moment in any one of these sessions and stood still and listened to the low soundtrack and the wind and the trees and looked on these environments, that this game can hold so much more than just the game mode we have today, however compelling it might be. And I think it'd almost be a waste of what we've built to keep it there.
Next, I want to talk about...
We're going to play that Thursday afternoon with Luke Water. Thursday afternoon. We might play it again Thursday night after GXG, but usually I'm tired. But we might play it after GXG, but we're definitely playing it in the afternoon with Luke.
Community feedback. This actually segues into another answer that was earlier in the interview that
I will do a stream on Friday, though. We'll do a morning stream sometime to also play it again.
Want to highlight, which is, I think a big question right now for a lot of people, right? There are people that are saying that, hey, this game is close to what I want, but if you change these things about it, it would be better for me. There's also people that are in the camp of like, hey, I like the game the way it is, don't change anything. And there's, you could definitely, I'm sure in your gaming career, you can reference a bunch of projects that you really liked that started out awesome, and then the developers started listening to the vocal minority, and then things started going downhill because they started integrating feedback elements that didn't fit the game. Or sometimes this happens. You like a game, but you're not quite, and you have to realize or come to terms with the fact that maybe you're just not the target audience, right?
That's fine.
Maybe you're just not in the cohort of players that like that game, and whether you like parts...
I'll be honest, if I play this game, put 50 hours in, and never touch it again, I'd be okay. I know I'm going to put more hours than 50, but if I put only 50 hours in, I'd be okay.
They're just going, your feedback is going to fall a little on deaf ears just because you're not part of the game that, it's not made for you. It's just one of the games you're going to have to pass on. So it's a good question to ask of how do the developers feel about feedback? And there are people right now that are worried that they're going to course correct or pendulum swing the other way because of the feedback they're getting of the game right now. Some people saying it's boring. Some people say it's missing something. Some people saying it's too hard, too easy. Change this, change that. What are the developers?
50's only the tutorial. And I was right about the PvE mode coming to Marvel Rivals.
Think about community feedback and the approach that they have as they listen to it.
I think it's important to remember that listening to community is critically important, but it's how you take what you get from them. And the
reason I say I was right is I said it before the game even launched. I said they will put a PvE mode in it.
You do with it. So on the dev team, or certainly within design, of course, we practice intent-based development. And it's just as important to understand what the intent behind what your community is telling you is. They will never have the context you have as a developer with what they're trying to tell you, but they will always be pointing to something that's true for them. And so if you can understand the intent behind what they're saying, it becomes far easier to blend that with the intent of what you're developing and find something that ideally works as a middle ground. So even if someone may say, I really hate PvP, or you should have left it as PvE, or don't nerf the snap hook, there's intent on both sides. And ideally you end up with something that's stronger as a result of taking those two halves and making it into something.
Which is a great answer. I think that's
I'm not sure if it's a limited time, a Titan. If it is or isn't, it's a test. And if it's popular, they'll put something in.
exactly the way you should look at it, right? And I've talked about this in other games.
They're losing player base. They're losing a player base. They've done right things with Marvel Rivals. We'll talk about that maybe tomorrow. They've done a really good job with adding characters all the time, but they're losing player base because of the PvP. So you take all those characters and you put them into a PvE game mode, and you're going to get an influx of people to come back and play that game.
Before and just kind of ideas of balancing, live balancing, and things like that. But in general, you always want to figure out, like, never dismiss feedback no matter what, right? Someone wants something, someone's having a bad experience, someone's having a good experience. You always want to take that wholesale as they're telling me how they're feeling, but also try to understand what's causing that and see if you can find something that fits both the vision of the game or the project, but also solves that problem in a way. And there's multiple ways to solve a problem as well. So I think they have a good perspective on what to do with the community feedback. And again, it seems like they're kind of focused on getting the game out and then moving on from there before they start making any major changes, which I think is also a good approach. But at least now we know where their head is at on the feedback. It doesn't sound like they're going to be knee-jerking, switching the core fundamental of the game. They're happy with where it's at. They're going to ship the game and just see how things go and adjust based on metrics and about, on growth of the title. Next, since we have the art director on the panel, it's always, cool to kind of get that same perspective. So there is feedback on Arc Raiders right now, and I'm kind of in this camp myself, but the feedback is they don't like the characters. They don't like the environment. I've also seen some more politically charged statements about the color choices and some representations of flags and, hotly debated topics in the world right now. I'm not going to dive into that. I care more about the game than more about the human drama that comes along with it. But there's definitely, there are people that give feedback on the environment and the characters. I've always felt like it feels very retro Ghostbusters, blockbuster kind of vibe, just super goofy in a lot of ways. And there's some people that like that, some people that don't. So let's hear it directly from the art director. What was the goal in the art style creation of the game and of the philosophy of what they created for the characters in general? And also just, is this something that might change or not depending on feedback? There's definitely people that say, hey, great game, I think the characters are ugly, or hey, great characters, I think the game sucks, and that sort of thing. I like the style. What does the art director say?
They look goofy, but obviously make the problem, sell the solution. If there's shitty looking cosmetics and goofy looking cosmetics in the game, they're going to sell you cool looking cosmetics in the game, right?
What we achieved with the sort of visual design for Arc Raiders, it goes almost hand in hand with the formation of the studio and what we attempted to do and what we tried to achieve. So early on in the inception of the studio, we tried to figure out what kind of games we want to make. And at the same time developing something that we were visually interested in exploring, things that we wanted to do, and visually arresting games. But we also wanted to stretch our legs a bit more and see what else we can do, because we had built up this desire to explore something else, something that goes beyond what we've done in the past. And at the same time developing what the game is, something that allows and has all these affordances that we want to develop with a game, something that can stretch the bounds of just reality. So we start with a very, very sort of grounded, believable approach to things, and then inject all these other sort of sci-fi isms that goes on top of this, but these also fall within a kind of a framework of having plausibility and believability attached to them, so that they serve a high degree of allowance for what we want to explore game-wise. It's all based around the idea of things that are plausible. You will understand what they are, because they are sort of intuitive in their approach. They are intuitive in their design. You can often discern what this will do based on what it looks like. Yeah. I think in part exploring sort of sci-fi that we wanted to sort of explore and dig more into, we jokingly said that when we developed the initial first steps and started even exploring the branding of it, the logo, we set this thing of going, it should look like it was made in 1979, making something that has a sort of, let's call it retro-futuristic approach to it.
Is it set in 70s and 80s?
Perceived
or
as very believable.
Like 70s, 80s?
You kind of recognize what these things are. They're based in something that could plausibly exist.
I think they actually achieved that. If you would just take a look at the arcs in general and some of the weapon design for like their hard surface in general, I think they actually did achieve that. Like a lot of the drones are quadcopters. The way they float and move and their physics is very relatable to real life.
Yeah,
a lot
so
of the
good.
mechanical components of weapons and things like that line up with what's going on, what you would expect it to work like. And honestly, I think a lot of the arc robots are very easy to understand.
Do we know what year it takes place, Luke?
And on how they work, right? When the pops show up, shooting the joints on like a bastion, shooting the light on the leaper, the weak points on the queen, and things like that. I think it actually does have very strong affordance.
See that smoke? Take note. Take note, Battlefield 6. You see how this smoke looks?
Light on the leaper, the weak points
on the...
See that
massive smoke there, Battlefield 6? Dice? You might want to fix your smoke inside Battlefield 6 because it's pathetic. This looks fantastic.
queen and things like that. I think it actually does have very strong affordance of when you look at it, you understand how it works. There's some weapons like the kettle, which seem kind of out there, but it's not going to be like Hideo Kojima level of like, what the frick did I just see? I don't understand how any of this works, or like Silent Hill monsters where you're like, right? Like it is very relatable and believable. And I think that his like made in 1979 fits the aesthetic. It is very retro scientific, better, sci-fi isms. Sounds like a lot of like their vision boards and descriptions match what you're going to be seeing in the game in general. And it sounds like they kind of hit that vibe. So whether you like it or not, it is part of it. I do appreciate the fact that most things are understandable based on what they do. And hopefully we see more of that in the future as well. And on that same note, in case you're curious, they did show off some scrappy cosmetics coming along for that in general. Most of these are rigid body attachments to like the top of it, and there are some changes for the color and the feathers, but it sounds like they want to kind of highlight and show customizable options for Scrappy. Same thing for your character. Not only are you able to get like armor and customizations through the battle pass, free unlocks through challenges and some of the traders as well, but also through the deluxe edition and all that. So it kind of fits with the whole vibe and all that is there. But if you're curious, they did show some goofy scrappy cosmetics that they didn't say how you're going to get them, but they're going to be part of the game for launch as well. Next is another elephant in the room. We've talked about a lot of elephants today, but this is definitely a big one, and that is the idea of when you play a looting game, especially one that goes on for long periods of time, there will always be inflation and bloat.
We'll see what happens with the wipes.
People that have 1,000 hours in Arc Raiders are going to have a large inventory and stash that is fully kitted out. They could die 20 times in a row and still have a fully maxed out purple legendary loadout over and over. And so a lot of these games that are loot based.
It's only been out for 1 year, Chicken Curry. Marvel Rivals has only been out for 1 year, not even yet. It came out in December last year, so it's not years in release. Second, it has lost the majority of the player base. Okay, I've been playing it nonstop up until about a month ago, 2 months ago. So I played it majority of the year. The player base that was interested, that came in for the game for Marvel Rivals, wanted a lot of characters, which they got, but they also don't want a lot of characters where they can't play them in a PvE setting. So they're doing a test now for PvE, and if it works out well, they'll probably add more of a PvE mode.
Whether we're talking about MMOs, ARPGs, extraction shooters, everything in between, they will usually...
Why did I stop playing? It's called time, hater. I'm playing Helldivers. We played Roadcraft. We played tech tests. We played, like, I only have a certain amount of time. You see, you're defending Marvel Rivals. I didn't say that other games didn't lose their player base. I'm just saying that Marvel Rivals has lost their player base. Battlefield 6 has also lost a player base, and Borderlands 4 has also lost their player base. Okay? That's not what I'm saying. I'm just giving you the facts of what's happening with Marvel Rivals. You could take that as you're defending it, and, well, by all means defend. It's just what's happening. Hence why they're putting a PvE mode in the game, because they're trying to stop the hemorrhaging of losing the player base.
Have some solution for this problem of people get too bloated over time. And so it's been brought up many times of, do you guys plan to do wipes, seasonal resets? How is the loot going to work? Like, how do you plan on solving this problem as people get too wealthy over time? Now, I will preface this by saying is they don't have a system that they have announced. They haven't told us exactly how this will work, what the incentives will be, how the wipes will work overall. They haven't given us, like, this is exactly what it is. They said that they're going to update us sometime after launch on what that will actually be. Probably at some point, in the next month or two, we'll have an update of like, hey, here's how the launch went. Here's what...
They'll talk about it probably like 2 weeks in. Because what is it, Is it every 8 weeks, they said? Every 8 weeks there's a wipe going on in the game. You don't have to wipe, but there's 8 weeks, and then there's a wipe.
We think, and here's what we're going to do about it. But we did get a public response, which was very offhanded. Apologize for the audio here. The developer was...
Did I say the game is dying? I didn't say the game is dying. I know you're new here, right? I just give you my thoughts and opinions. You can disagree with my thoughts and opinions. You have your thoughts and opinions. Okay? Never said it was dying. You assumed I said it was dying.
Actually playing the game while talking about it and made this comment, but it is kind of important for understanding what their future is for wipes and or not wipes.
So the last thing we said publicly about it is currently we do not intend to do mandatory wipes. Any of that kind of stuff we'll probably talk about a little later.
Now again, that was a very short response, but it, the way it was phrased is important, and we can glean some information for it. And I do want to cover this topic because I know it is near and dear to a lot of people's hearts. So the important word to pull out from that's
I mean, technically it's a mandatory wipe, but they're making it seem like it's a optional wipe. Because at some point in time, because the incentive they're giving, you're going to want to wipe your character so you can get that bonus or whatever it is.
sentence is mandatory. And they've said this multiple times in different places.
At some point in the game, you'll be like, well, I'm not going to wipe, but if you don't wipe, you're not going to get the benefits of whatever they're giving you for the wipe. I guess you could do that. I mean, the only good part about this is if I didn't complete in the 8 weeks, I don't have to reset the 8 weeks. I can reset at 10 weeks or 12 weeks, right? And is it retroactive? Can I wipe in season 2 within the 16 weeks? Can I complete the first one, complete the second one, and then turn them in at the exact same time, or are you always behind? That'll be another reason I would like to know.
Over the last year or so is that they don't want to do mandatory wipes. So even if they offer wipe systems, reset systems, prestige systems, whatever the solution is that they come up with, they don't want to force you to reset.
I heard the bonuses for the wiping is just cosmetic. If it's just cosmetic, then I don't think you're going to have a lot of people wipe.
If you don't want to. So unlike
what they'll do is they'll stack stuff and they'll get all the way up to the part where they don't wipe, and then they go into maps and they're going to have advantages over other people. So there's something weird here. Like, you don't want to wipe, but they're going to have an advantage over something. We'll have to see how this plays out.
Games like ARPGs or, like extraction shooters where they do a scheduled wipe, they don't want to force you to do it. So they will give you the option to keep all your stuff forever if you want to and just play the game as part of that loop. But there might be other ways, like, they haven't actually told us exactly what it's going to be. If we look at examples like in ARPGs where they have an evergreen.
Yeah, the vast majority won't wipe. Because if it's just cosmetic, then it's like, why? Because if I wipe and I have to start all over, and then someone that didn't wipe has an advantage over me. Now, obviously, if you're a person like Shroud, Tim the Tatman, or someone that streams 12, 14 hours a day, they'll catch up real fast. But for the actual casual person, they're not going to wipe to start again to be in limited access. You know what I mean?
Green server where nothing gets reset, and then
Hal says just not cosmetic, permanent upgrades too. If they put permanent upgrades, then obviously you'll have to wipe. You should wipe. Otherwise, you're giving yourself a disadvantage in the long run.
Spin up seasonal servers. They will be up for a specified period of time, usually like a month to 3 months, where you start over together, get the loot. And I think there's a lot of people that like the reset mentality. I personally like it in general because it's nice when everybody starts over at the same time. You get to test your knowledge and skills on.
Maybe what you're saying there, Eclipse. If you don't wipe, you can only play on the hardest maps. Maybe if you don't wipe, maybe you can't go to the next map that comes out to progress. Maybe that's kind of weird because you're holding it back, but if I don't want to go to that map, I have to wipe to go to the next level. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, you have to beat this level to go to the next level. If you refuse, I don't know. Something. We'll see how it plays out.
Regaining that same wealth again. And also, it's kind of cool to start a match knowing that everyone has no loot, and so you have to fight with free loadouts and common level weapons without any attachments and that sort of thing. That's kind of fun, but I know there's people that don't like it in general. So whatever that system turns into, they've kind of committed to the idea that they won't be forcing you to wipe if you don't want to, but obviously over time, if the attrition systems aren't strong enough on requiring repairs and losing gear, obviously if you lose
non-wipers play non-wipers.
Gear to another player, then another player has. It's not like that loot goes
then
away.
They'll have two accounts. The sweats guys will have an account for the main one, and then they'll have an account for the lower guys that don't wanna wipe.
And dissolves into the air like, I don't feel so good, Mr. Stark, right? It goes to another person's inventory most of the time. And so there's definitely going to be some situations where people get too bloated, but they don't want to force you to do it. And hopefully for the people that care about that, that's something that's meaningful. But if you wanted like scheduled wipes, let me know if that was your perspective down below in the comments. The last thing
I don't like being forced. If you give me an incentive to wipe, I'll do it.
I want to touch on is the idea of roadmap. They were asked point blank, do you guys have a roadmap? And the answer was point blank, no, they don't have a roadmap. But they did talk further on this topic, right? So we don't have like a here's the content that's coming, this is going to be on this day and that week, and this is what we want to do. They mentioned that they do have post-release content ready or in the chamber. It's a very good idea to do if you have a game as
I always say this. Said it with Marvel's Avengers back in the day. I was like, if you're going to release stuff, make sure you have stuff in the chamber if you're going to be a live service game. So if it takes 3 to 4 years to make a game, it's for the base game, and you haven't launched in 6 years, make sure you have stuff in the pipeline. Otherwise, you're going to screw yourself, which a lot of live service games do. So hopefully this game has some content in the pipeline.
Service, you always want to have like your, .1 or 1.1 or whatever it is, like more content that's already been worked on, because it's not like you can snap your fingers and content spawns out of thin air. You have to plan it and work on it, so you have to do it before the launch happens. They said that they do have post-release content coming, as well as another layer of that for another like a .2 or something like that. But then going forward, they said that they want to kind of see what the community wants and thinks, and they also, as we've talked about, and as they've mentioned even in this video, that they have a fun playground. They have the bots, they have the players, they have the maps, they have the modes, they have the encounters, like the harvester faster and stuff, so they have knobs that they can turn to create new styles of content, modes, and interactions. But this was their official response when asked about what is the future of Arc Raiders? Do you plan to have this game alive for a long period of time?
See, a lot of people want to know what the end game is, right? They want to know what the end game is before the game comes out. They're like, they don't even care about what the game is. They want to know what the end game is. And then once the end game gets there, they want to know what the next thing is. And that's why they want to know what the roadmap is. It's like, settle down. Play the game. Play the game. And then if you're bored of the game, you put the game down. And then when they come out with a roadmap and stuff, maybe you'll come back.
And do we have content coming down the pipe?
We didn't anticipate Tech Test 2's response whatsoever, so that was a huge help for us to move toward what we have today with Server Slam and launch. And I realized people would like if there was...
I think that's a bad way if they do it that way, Chicken, right? If they actually curious about what Marathon does, if they said that they have a super hard map to go to endgame, if they just do one map, on my channel, I always talk about the upside down triangle, okay? Right now, it's a triangle like this, okay? So when you first start off in the game, you have so much to do at the bottom of the triangle, right? And as you level up, you have less and less stuff to do until the last thing is the one raid or the one build to go for, okay? Where I believe that video games should start off as an upside down triangle, meaning you start, and as you play the game, more things unlock and it gets wider, a wider spectrum to play the actual game. So you're not just playing one map, there's 5 maps that you can do. You could go wherever to do whatever things, right? More things unlock for you the higher level you get up instead of shrinks the higher you get up, because it's dumb. Because when you get to end game, then you're doing the one thing over and over just to get the one item, to get the one piece of gear, to get the one map, to get the... It's dumb. Nobody has done it correctly.
A bit more things for them to do in Server Slam, but it really is meant to be a small introduction to the game. And really, I hope with what we've got in there, people can project forward a little bit to what they can expect with launch. But of course, we would really like you to dive in on the 30th and see all of the work that we've put in since Tech Test 2, things that weren't quite ready for Tech Test 2 and now have come in on top of those things. So I'm really excited to see how people feel about getting back in there in the full experience later on. So I think internally, for a very long time, we referred to this as a 10-year game. So that is the ambition.
I hate when they say stuff like that. I hate when they say stuff like that because you're just like, really? That's like a kiss of death, right? If it lasts 10 years, fantastic. But now that you said that, if it bombs in 2, you'd be like, well, what happened to the 10-year plan?
That we're aiming for, and that kind of dictates the type and quantity of content that we want to put into it. So we're not at this stage going to discuss.
That right there is like saying a roadmap, right? That saying that we want this game to last 10 years, like, oh, well, I'm going to buy it then because they're going to last this game for 10 years. But it might not last 10 years. It might last 10 months. It might last 10 days like Concord. Sorry, 12 days like Concord.
Exact roadmap details, that stuff can quickly spiral.
Concord says it was the next Star Wars brand.
Into promises that can go unfulfilled if things change, but of course adding things over time like new maps and extending quest lines and introducing new enemies and new weapons and things like that. So we'll have some stuff lined up post-launch and for a little bit after, but then it will be based on what we see out of the launch and then going thereafter to kind of start dropping the content.
Of course.
So there you have it. That is where the developers are at. The clock is ticking now, going down to full release October 30th. So let me know what you think about these developer responses, where your head is at on the game. I know a lot of opinions are circling around right now. Has the responses from the developers changed your perspective at all? Are you still locked in, rock solid on what it is you want the game to be or not be because you don't care? Let me know in the comments down below. If you found value in...
All right, so there you go. Go check out his link down in the description below. Like I said, he doesn't need my help. But Dry Bear, I've never matched his stuff before, so it was very educational between him and what he said and then what the devs said. So go check out his channel, is Dry Bear Gamers, 208,000 subscribers. You can go check out the link in the description. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button over there if you like his content. All right. So that's going to do it for us today on the Daily Grind. If you guys like what I do here, we do this Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning till noon Eastern. If you like it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. We do appreciate you very much for coming out and hanging out with us each and every single day. We'll be back in about 30 minutes or so, about 40 minutes or so, over on 30 and Still Gaming, our other channel where we play video games. We'll be hanging out with Mr. Luke, playing some more Helldivers 2. Come on over there, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button over there as well. If you'd like to support the channel, you can check out the gear down below, the shirts, the hats, the mugs, the stickers, or you can also support us by listening to the music that we create, all gaming-related stuff over on Spotify, Pandora, iHeart, iTunes, Apple Music, all that stuff. Appreciate it very much. You guys have a great rest of your day, evening, or night, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace.